Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could take sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
Constant business meetings in the morning since 6 o'clock. Finish your business meetings early and come to the meeting. Every time Tom is like, I've been having meetings since 6.
6 a.m.
Show up
meeting.
a little bit early. Anyways, it's 9:23. Gang, great to be with you guys today on the podcast. Hope you had a great weekend. Lots of crazy things happened this weekend, Vinny. Just a few hours ago, I don't know if you guys heard or not, Keir Starmer resigned.
No.
UK. This is the 7th prime minister they've had in the last 10 years. 7th prime minister in the last 10 years. If this was a corporation, if a company had 7 CEOs, think about a Fortune 500 company. UK is a Fortune 100 company. If a Fortune 100 company had 7 CEOs in 10 years, what would you say about that company?
The board sucks.
Either the board sucks or the board doesn't know what the people want. So either way, the board sucks. This morning, he resigns. And there's a bunch of speculation on what's happening, who's going to replace him. We got some names that we'll go through. Aside from that, some very interesting things happen in Switzerland while they're going back and forth with Vance. They said the Qatar leader kind of punked Vance and didn't shake hands. And at last minute, they ran out. And Abbas Arghachi, they're like, U.S. doesn't threaten us. And Trump, I'm going to do to Iran even worse than what you guys thought if you guys don't get the deal together. And so they left, and the lower level people stayed, and they committed to figuring this thing out in a next 16-day period, which is what they have. And so we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there. There's some commentary that we'll get into. Last week or so, we did a video on TPUSA where the video was, the Andrew Colvett said that this video is AI to troll the trolls. And so we talked about the video, and then afterwards I got a call from the board as well as the leadership team of TPUSA saying that video was real. And so then we had Adam put Vinny in contact with Andrew. You guys had a nice 45-minute call together. I want you to update us on the today after the video, and we'll play the video again. So we'll cover that. And then aside from that, Rubio versus Vance, it's a topic of discussion that keeps coming up. CNN, Harry Anton, which, by the way, this guy, you're right. I think he needs to take some blood pressure medicine. He
needs to. I'll give him
because
some.
a recent data came up that showed, Democrats are becoming more socialist than ever before. They're getting away from capitalism, and they're very open to the idea of socialism. So we'll talk about that. Dave Ramsey and Kevin O'Leary have career advice for you on what to do. What are the careers? They did a study, 10,000 plus people that are millionaires, Ramsey did, on what jobs produces the most millionaires. We'll talk about that. And then Kevin O'Leary had some advice on, I think it's when he worked with Steve Jobs. That's the one, right? Yeah, Steve Jobs gave him the best career advice. There's only 3 things you have to do every day to succeed. We'll talk about that. Murdoch, Fox News, and Adelson, who gave Trump $100 million, are kind of stepping away from Trump, and they publicly called him out because they're not happy with what's going on with Israel. I know we'll get into that. Netflix tried to get into the podcast game. The numbers are not looking good on the podcast side, on them going after the big players to see how that was going to work out. And then Juneteenth, to me, who came up with the idea of Juneteenth, by the way? Do we know? Like, who is the person?
Let me find out.
Why? So Juneteenth, the whole idea is to celebrate
the emancipation of slavery.
Why would you bring it out in the same weekend as Father's Day? Like, was that a troll? Were they trying to troll because of African-American fatherless home society, like percentage that you see?
I don't know about that.
They could have done it in a different month than doing it that month. I want to know who came up with this idea.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden couldn't have picked a better weekend than Father's Day, like to not mock African-American fathers. Like, choose a different weekend. I thought it's a little bit of a racist move on whoever came up. I thought it was a conservative that came up with Juneteenth, but apparently it's a liberal. We'll talk about that because Vinny's got some stats on Chicago, what happened with the shooting over the weekend.
Shootings?
Plural or singular? Plural.
Plural.
Oh, wow. So plural. And then, folks, if you're a pool cleaner, you may have a job for you in D.C. because there's a pool that needs a lot of cleaning. And it's like, I don't know if it's like pool cleaning or somebody standing on the side the moment they're going to throw the algae and you hit them with a slingshot. There's a lot of different jobs.
Pool security and cleaning.
To do over there. And then Jimmy Kimmel has somebody to take a spot for him during the summer while he's kicking it and hanging out with all the famous people in wherever he's going to go to. Rosie O'Donnell, maybe hosting Jimmy Kimmel's show. And then we got this actress, Supergirl, that made some dumb comments that fired up Vinny, that Vinny wants to talk about. But we got a lot of things. We got plenty of stories to get into, and it's a good morning. Having said that, you know what's around the corner? What is around the corner? What are we today? Today's the 22nd. 4th of July is how many days away? Roughly 15, 16 days away from 4th of July.
Yes.
Okay? So here's what we did. The guys put a video together. I hope the guys on the back are ready. We have flirted with this video and shown it to you for 6 months, but we've never released it. We kept the best one for last, and I'm going to tell you why this will go and be on eBay in no time, because we have a 250-year anniversary box that's here with some special items in it, and specifically the hat. It's the hat that employees came to us and said, please don't sell it all. Let us have some of it, but I first want you to watch this video, especially the people that love America. Go ahead, guys.
There was a nation.
God bless America.
There was an idea powerful enough to ignite a revolution. America has marched through history with courage in its heart and freedom as its cause. We crossed frontiers. We built railroads that united a continent. We rose from the ashes of conflict. We defended liberty across oceans. And we reached beyond Earth itself, planting our flag among the stars. Through every trial, one spirit endured, a spirit to dream bigger, to stand stronger, to keep moving forward. For 250 years, generations of Americans have written a story of sacrifice, innovation, resilience, and hope. And now, the next chapter begins. This is America. 250 years of freedom. 250 years of courage. 250 years of a nation still rising.
I'll join the military right now.
Isn't it great? Don't you just...
Oh,
Aren't
love
you,
that.
by the way, aren't you proud you served the military, you were in the Air Force? One of the best decisions I made is...
Absolutely.
So go to vtmerch.com. Only limited 250 boxes. When you go there, it comes with a shirt that says the greatest country in the world. On the box, it says 250 years of freedom. Future looks bright. When you open it up, you get a Future Looks Bright mug. You get these hats that there's only a limited supply of them. And then you get this water mug. What do you call these things? Is it a...
It's what's it called?
Okay,
I don't even...
250-year anniversary on it as well. It says, "In God We Trust." And on the back, it says, "The greatest country in the world." But it's only for 250 of them. So if you want to buy the hat by itself, you have the option to do that. But it's limited supply. These will go in no time. And the only place you'll be able to find them is on eBay. So if you see this video afterwards and it's already sold out, go on eBay. Some guys will put it up. But if you want to get the kit, go to vtmerch.com, place the order, get the entire box, the shirt. And can you go through order of the box so we can see exactly how it works? Can you go all the way to the top so they can see when they order the box how it works? If you want to go back to, I think go back to the homepage and go to the collections. No, go back to the homepage and it should be right there. Click on that, secure yours when you go on the site, and then click on the box top left. So right there, if you go through it, so pick the shirt. So you pick the size, whatever size it is, right there to the top right. Just pick the shirt size.
Gotcha.
Okay, so go medium, +1. And then everything else is included. Go on the bottom, place your order. The house will come over to you. So go to vtmerch.com, place your order, get your latest greatest country in the world campaign that we have. With that being said, let's get right into it. Literally a few hours ago, this morning, we all woke up, my phone blowing up. I had a call yesterday with Rupert Lowe from UK, lengthy call. I spoke with Liz Truss yesterday, trying to see what is going on in UK right now. Liz Truss was the previous prime minister. And then this morning, Keir Starmer resigns. 7th prime minister UK has had in the last 10 years. And here's what he had to say. Apparently, all the way at the end, I didn't watch the entire speech. He got choked up and started crying. Go ahead and play the clip.
My party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I have spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess.
Okay, so, and by the way, I don't know if you have at the end Humberto when he starts crying, if you want to find that clip. Is this it? Is that it? Go for it.
When I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic,
Oh, he's
who has
straight.
been a
Yeah,
rock
you got it.
by my
Gotcha.
side
Didn't know that.
through good times and bad,
Look, whether you like him or not,
and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children.
this is tough.
Who are my
this
pride
is tough to be able
and
to
my
do
joy.
that. So you got to give him praise for
Thank you very much.
him resigning. A lot of people are happy. Let me tell you a little bit about Keir Starmer so you guys know what happened here. By the way, if UK, can you ask the question, if UK was a company, where would it rank in the Fortune 500? If UK, go on ChatGPT and ask the question, if the UK were a country, where would it rank in Fortune 500?
Well,
and can you tell me ever a time where a Fortune 500 company had 7 CEOs in a span of 10 years? Okay, UK would rank as the 6th largest company in Fortune 500. So in other words, it would be a Fortune 10 company. And if it were a Fortune 10 company, having replaced 7 prime ministers in the last 10 years, Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak, Starmer, and assuming you'll have the next person that's coming up here, that'll be 7 and 10 years. In the history of business, the only other company that went through this before acquisition was Yahoo between 2007 and 17, and they had 7 CEOs during that 10-year period. Aside from that, no one's ever had 7 CEOs in 10 years. Hewlett-Packard had 5. GE had 3. You don't hear stories like this. How the hell does a country not be able to figure this out and realize the top 3 issues that the country has is what? Immigration, crime, economy. Figure that part out. People will be happy. A little bit to know about Keir Starmer before, Tom, I come to you. Born in 1962, he was part of the Fabian Democratic Socialist Party in the past. And the Fabian Party was George Bernard Shaw. These guys were openly socialist. They agreed with a lot of things that Karl Marx talked about. So he joined the Labor Young Socialists at school, left-wing activism from the late 70s, contributed to Socialist Lawyer and Socialist Alternative publications, wrote in a Marx-influenced register. He said Karl Marx was, of course, right on the limits of abstract rights. And then he continues, openly, this organization, the Fabian, openly embrace eugenics. They openly embrace eugenics. And when you go a little bit deeper into the story, do you know what his actual job was prior to becoming a prime minister? You know what his job was? What is the job where you take care of kids to make sure kids are taken care of? CPS. What does CPS stand for?
Child Protective
Services on the legal side, and then the foster system on the care side.
So this guy ran Child Protective Services. And even though he ran Child Protective Services, he never prosecuted James Savile, despite multiple complaints. We all know who James Savile was.
The BBC guy?
The guy.
Jimmy Savile.
No, Jimmy Savile, who was the guy that was the UK's version of Jeffrey Epstein, who had done a lot of different things. If you want to pull him up on the screen so people know who Jimmy Savile is, the moment you see his face, you'll recognize him. Guys in the back, if you can pull up Jimmy Savile so the audience can see it. So he does the, Child Protection Services, is a part of that. And while the 250,000 report that comes from Rupert Lowe never comments about it, but he comments on the Scottish guy that goes around and stabbed a couple guys, but never once about what happened with. So a lot of people in UK are actually happy that this happened, but it's a travesty that still these issues in UK have not been addressed the last 10 years. If this were a corporation, the shareholders would lose their mind at the board. Tom, your thoughts on Keir Starmer resigning?
So I appreciate that you can stand at a podium as a man, as a father, as a husband, and get choked up. And I do respect the fact that he stood at that podium with some dignity talking about transition. So I give him credit for that. But his record, what you just covered as Child Protective Services, he failed and then got promoted eventually to prime minister. You were bringing about companies, Pat. In the last 10 years, there's been one company that has had 5. You looked at the records. Like I lived through the Yahoo thing, 2007, 2017, Susan Decker and all these people that were there. My gosh, what a revolving door. But in the last 10 years, 5 belonged to a company called Starbucks, and we've even covered them. It was Howard Schultz, then Johnson, then back to Schultz, and then Naresh Simhan. Remember we covered him. Don't talk to me after 6
He was the
p.m.
consultant. Yeah, he said,
right?
don't talk to me after
And then
6
Brian
p.m.
Nichol, and it finally comes around. And then Disney had the same problem. They went Iger, Chapek, Iger, where they selected a...
But 7 and 10 years for a Fortune 6 company?
It hasn't happened. I don't see
This
it.
is embarrassing, Vinny.
Except Yahoo. It's
pretty damn bad.
horrifying.
Yeah.
The board should be shot.
Yeah, Vinny.
Well, but you named
He's joking. Tom is joking
Yeah,
about it.
I don't mean violence. I don't mean violence.
They
That'd be-
can't do it anyways because they don't have Second Amendment over there, so don't worry about it.
They'll whistle you to
Go ahead,
death or
Vinny.
baton you to death. But Pat, besides the grooming gang scandal and the CPS failures, he represented a banned Islamic group in court, which was banned in Germany. It was a Hizb ut Tahrir, whatever, I don't know if people want to pronounce it, for the death penalty. He got rid of the death penalty for rapists and murderers. Caribbean, Africa, South Africa. He stood up for that. Jimmy Savile, like you talked about, Epstein, and all that type of stuff. And it's really sad, Pat. You mentioned that over the weekend, a 36-year-old Scottish man, which, by the way, this goes without saying, anything violent because of people's religious beliefs and all that is absolutely wrong. But the double standard, Keir, this happens. This 36-year-old Scottish man stabbed, he went on a rampage in Edinburgh, immediately branded terrorist. This anti-Islamic person, Keir Starmer, was too sweet on it. But a couple months earlier, remember Mustafa Kone? He was stabbing people in the same city in Edinburgh. Guess what? Crickets. They said he was mentally ill and by the way, anybody out stabbing people for any reason, you're mentally ill. So the double standard, Pat, it drives me crazy.
And they never used the terrorist label, what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Pat, you said he was crying right now, and I get it, bro. I get the emotional part, crying about his kids. Was one tear shed for the 250,000 young girls raped, tortured, what'd you say last week? Tongue drilled, hammered to a wall, getting sexually taken advantage of, and all the different things with objects. It's like, where's the tears? And I said, he said King Charles called him. Has anybody heard anything about King Charles, Pat? Has he commented anything about any of the situation?
He supposedly is semi-public and dealing with cancer treatment.
Well, guess what?
Supposedly.
Yeah, but if you're the king of this great nation of yours,
The office
go out
of the
and
king can put out a statement.
say something, condemn it, Pat. And do you mind if I just really quick, Pat, shift to Mehdi Hassan? Can you show Mehdi Hassan's tweet? That's his tweet. Look at Mehdi Hassan. The same week that Rupert Lowe put out this BS rape gang report, falsely claiming Muslims raped 250,000 white girls, the same week Elon Musk amplified it here, and this is what happens as anybody is surprised. They're inciting violence against Muslims and emboldening extremists. And I don't even want to show up, Pat, with Mehdi Hassan and his past. He's saying all this stuff, and he said it's BS. It's not a mistake. It's not exaggeration. The words used to dismiss one of the biggest child abuse scandals in modern British history, and I think in the world. And in one word, but he's basically calling these girls, Pat, liars. He's dismissing the mothers who begged to be heard, and nothing came from people like Keir Starmer, okay? He's brushing it aside. And by the way, this is the same Mehdi Hassan. I know we just recently had him here. He once referred to non-Muslims as cattle in sermons, compared homosexuality to pedophilia, and was eventually shown the door by multiple media outlets. Yet, he said he's sorry, Pat, but you don't forget about that, and that ideology doesn't go away. And here's my one thing, Pat, in regard to all this underage, grooming, Muslim, and everybody stays quiet. To mainstream Muslims, Muhammad was divine and flawless. Am I correct? So Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6, and then he was 50. Then he had sex with her. Some would call that child rape when she was 9 and he was 53. So sleeping with children cannot be divine to Muhammad, Pat, and evil to his followers. Does that make sense? That's why I think Muslims struggle with denouncing child rape, because that's your guy. You have to stick up for him. No matter how, you know how many arguments I get into on Manek, people are like, that was the time. Anytime you think, I don't care if it was 1400 or 180, sleeping with a 9-year-old is wrong, period. And try to compare him to Jesus Christ. Go ahead, do me a favor. Name one thing that Jesus Christ did in his 33 years of living, where right now today, Pat, I had to stick up for him and go, well, that was the time. He slept with a 9-year-old because that was the time. And I think that's why that they struggle with the Pat. And that's why I think that whole ideology is captured, because you have to stick up for him. You have to stick up for Mohammed.
Vinny's going in. Respect to
being
you,
honest.
Vincent. Cool. I think it's just sad to see where the UK brand is. It's a revolving door of weak leaders. You know the whole story about strong men create good times and weak leaders will create hard times. And that's basically where UK is now. I would say like the poster child to basically show what's going on in the UK is not even the prime ministers. What happened with Harry and Meghan? You're a prince. And I'm saying when he's got his own money, he's got his own money. You're a prince. You're going to basically excommunicate yourself for some B-list American actress, move to America, make a mockery of basically the royal family. That to me signified these guys have no clue what they're doing over in the UK. And Keir Starmer is just the latest victim of just weak losers who are coming in and out the door. But, you know, PBD, you brought up one thing that I wanted to bring up. Follow the money. You said that UK is the 6th richest country in the world. Their GDP is just shy of $4 trillion, $3.8 trillion. Do you know London, the premier financial hub of the Western world for centuries, until the United States, New York, basically took the throne. The UK, if they were part of the United States, do you know where they would be ranked in terms of what state they would be? 51st state in GDP per capita. Our poorest state, Mississippi, continuously the 50th, the lowest state, 50th, GDP per capita for Mississippi is $55,000. GDP per capita in the UK, $54,000. There's so much to unpack here of what's going on here. But at the end of the day, they're taxing people. Wealth is leaving. And we all know that anything woke basically will ruin your society and ruins everything.
Yeah.
And that's where the society
Well,
is.
let's see. Let's see what's going to happen. The good news is there's a couple conversations they're having about who could replace him. There's a name, I believe Andy Dunham, if I'm not mistaken, is one name. Andy Burnham that could be replacing him, which is going to be in the next couple weeks. There's another guy named Wes Streeting who is slightly more conservative, but Wes Streeting just came out and said he's going to be supporting Andy Burnham. He just did that like a couple hours ago. Recently. So this is probably the guy. Get used to seeing this face if you don't already know him. Can you pull him up to see who he is and what his background is? Can you pull up his what we know about him? Yeah, if you can go right there. So he is a British politician who's been a prime MP since 26, a Labour coach, another Labour guy who is currently a candidate for 2020 Labour Party candidate election for Keir Starmer, Prime Minister. He previously served as the Mayor of Greater Manchester. So it's another Keir Starmer that could be replacing him. Is what it's looking like in UK. So UK, if I were you, I would be doing a lot of praying and hoping that these messages, a guy connects me, you know what he asked me? He says, Pat, what do I do? I'm a Christian man. I'm a Brit. I live in UK. What do you do in a situation like this when you're seeing these 250,000 kids, the rape gang, taking place by the Pakistanis, and you know that 85, 87% of them, where they lie, that they're from, Pakistan Muslims. What do you do in a situation like this? Do you react? Do you not react? Do we take it up on our own hands? Do we do something about it? I said, that's a very difficult question you're asking. But I will tell you, this guy Keir, couldn't stand guys like Tommy Robinson.
Of course.
They hate guys like Tommy Robinson. And Rupert Lowe, who did the whole rape gang report that's coming out, that's circulating all over the place. By the way, what's the big YouTuber that does reactions? Asmon Gold, I want to say his name.
Yeah.
Asma Gold, yeah.
He's good.
Do you know what he did for 7.5 hours? He read the entire report for 7.5 hours.
Asmon Gold.
Which
Asmon
report?
Gold.
Asmon Gold read the entire
the Pakistani rape
gang report for 7.5 continuous hours.
Good for him.
He read the report. So people are seeing what's
He's
going on here. And
dedicated.
so, yeah, that's good. That's good. He's doing a great job. Our guys here love him. We always hear good things about him. Let me get to the next story here. Next story here is TPUSA. About a week ago, we showed a video where Vinny reacted to a video that was where Andrew Colvett and his partner said, we are trolling the trolls, and we thought it was a fake video. Folks from TPUSA, I won't give names, they reached out to me and they said, hey, that was a real video. That's actually what Charlie Kirk said. And I spoke to the gentleman who set up his estate planning, Doug, who I mentioned him before. And, you know, he says, Pat, this is what he wanted. He wanted Erica to run the organization afterwards. And the controversy was over this video. And the video I'm going to come to because you guys had a 45-minute call. Go ahead, guys.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erica would do a great job.
Okay, Vinny, you had a call with Andrew.
So I talked to Andrew. Mind you, Pat, I think we've met him in passing at one of the TPUSA events. Adam hooked it up where I got back from, where were we?
We were in
Washington.
DC.
Great
and I
fight,
spoke
yeah.
with him for 45 minutes. You ever just see somebody on TV or on videos and everybody has their assumptions in their head. But then you speak with them, you're like, oh, okay, now I know exactly who you are as a human being. Pat, 45 minutes. I mean, we could have gone for a 2-hour conversation. He explained that video that they put together, it wasn't them, it wasn't AI. But on X, somebody put, people community note if they're on a certain side. He had to go in and he had to get the community note lifted because it wasn't AI. So he explained the whole situation to me, and it was not what I thought it was. And I commented on it because that's what I thought was happening. But the 45-minute conversation, Pat, it's as if I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the conversation, but if people out there, if you don't think that Andrew Colvett is genuinely concerned and worried, Pat, he has so many more questions about everything that happened with the shooter, with Tyler Robinson's, his name. It was such a good conversation, and I never judged him or thought anything of him different, but having spoken with him and clarifying the situation, I was wrong because what I saw that Grok said, right, boom, AI, they can go on Grok and people could keep community noting, Pat, and even if it's not real, he had to go on and fix it. So I was in the wrong, and yeah, he's actually really, really a good dude.
Talking to Andrew.
Very, very good dude.
That's
he's a stand-up dude.
Yeah, so there you have it with that video. It's interesting because when we were on a flight to UFC White House, we had one of our lawyer friends with us on the flight there, and he says one of the things people are doing now is at the top, you can run audits to see what bots are attacking you, from where, funded by whom. Imagine that research to have. So let me say it one more time. Imagine if you could run a research to know who is attacking you with fake bots and who is paying for it. How valuable would that be?
Oh, big time.
You know who's the one guy that knows all of those because he owns the company? It's a guy named Elon Musk. So guess what person knows who's attacking who and destroying who? Elon Musk and his team. He can literally say, can you run a report why this guy is being attacked by such and such? Oh, follow the money. That's where. So Elon knows everybody's dirt that applies to Twitter. What is the easiest place to defame somebody? X. Out of all the platforms, what is the easiest place to defame somebody? X. It's very easy to defame somebody at X. And what is the one platform that can confuse the most people and gaslight the most people? It's X.
Yeah, of course.
X is the place because a lot of people are getting their news from X. So anyways, it's interesting when that happens as you go through it. But I'm glad, Vinny, you had a call with him, and I'm glad you're manning up with it. Every once in a while, we're going to get things that are, wrong, and we're going to man up and talk about it and go from there. So, all right. So next story I want to get into is the following. CNN Harry Enton. I think he needs to be, honestly, like Tylenol needs to reach out to him. Advil needs to reach out to him to do a sponsorship, to be like, this guy, how do you hold it together? To not lose your mind. So the rise of the democratic socialists. I warned you the last couple years when I said, I think we're getting ready for a socialist president in 2028. And if you go in thinking there is not a single chance that could happen, you are naive. Watch what's happening right now to the Democratic Party. Go ahead, guys.
Democratic socialists. How are they viewed inside the Democratic Party?
Yeah, you know, you mentioned New York, you mentioned Vermont. Obviously, there's the D.C. mayor. We've seen it in Pennsylvania as well. The Democratic socialists seem to be doing considerably better than they used to be, and they have the chance to knock off, in fact, Democratic incumbents in Congress. And part of the reason for that, why we're seeing these Democratic socialists having such good chances or outright winning nominations, is take a look here. Net favorability among Dems. Democratic Socialists of America, look at that. A plus 17-point net favorability rating among Democrats. That is actually better. That is better than how congressional Democrats are viewed by Democrats at just plus 4 points. So no wonder that Democratic Socialists have such a good chance, because simply put, they are a better brand at this point than Democrats in Congress.
Among Democrats, it's interesting to see who they like more. All right, and you've used this number before. I always find this fascinating. When you compare socialism to capitalism, how are they doing right now?
Yeah, how are they doing right now among Democrats? You see this Democratic Socialists of America more positive than congressional Democrats. And I'll tell you, take a look at the trend line, the favorable rating among Democrats on socialism and look at this. In 2010, they were about equal. 50% had a favorable view of socialism. 51% said the same about capitalism. But capitalism has absolutely fallen through the floor. Look at this. It's now just 42% of Democrats who have a favorable view of capitalism. Socialism, on the other hand, up like a rocket. Look at this. 2 in 3 Democrats have a favorable view of socialism. So socialism is on the rise among Democrats. Capitalism is on the decline among Democrats. And again, this is part of the longer-term trend in which we are seeing Democratic socialists doing considerably better among Democrats, electing a mayor right here in New York City, for example.
There you go. So, Tom, what does this mean to you?
So here's what's going on. Democratic socialists right now, you need to think of them as MAGA of the Democrats. Not on the right, but they're this group that's out there. The core Republicans, remember, you go 2016. Remember how upset the core Republicans were, Vinny, Adam, you remember this too, at MAGA. Oh, it's just a bunch of fringe guys, a bunch of this. And guess what? Trump rode that wave, baby, in 2016. What you're having now is Bernie and AOC mostly are the Democratic Socialists. You do not have as much support for Omar on a national basis as you do just in her districts, and she pisses us off with where she, puts herself out. So that's point one. You're seeing this is the fringe. The other point is when you see socialism versus capitalism, ignore the words. When you dive deeper down into this, Pat, you're hearing this. I don't trust Congress. You on the outside or portraying as an outsider like AOC, if you can fix it and make my life better, I trust you.
Yes.
And when she happens to be a Democratic socialist, I don't care what she is. I don't trust Congress. Congress is terrible. I don't want to see these guys anymore. I trust them. Same thing happened with MAGA and the Tea Party. It's not that I don't like the Republicans, but the ones in Congress, I don't trust them. The Tea Party, the MAGA, they're on the outside. They can help me. That's what they're looking for. That's when you see these gaps here. So you have to be careful with the labels, Pat. I don't think it's capitalism, socialism, as much as the economy sucks and who's going to help me. Oh, you? Okay. And then the middle class and the lower middle class says, you know what? If you can give me some free stuff and you can help me out, I'm with you. It doesn't make logical sense from the moderates.
Adam, where are you at with this?
I mean, we got some work to do. If you believe in America and you believe in basically the foundations of America from the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, you believe in capitalism, you believe in free markets. I mean, it's sad to see. I mean, this is the Elon Musk thing that he talks about starting in 2008.
Oh, I never moved.
If you're, I never moved. There was the Democratic Party left me. I didn't leave them. If you were a center-left person, if you voted for Obama, you were pretty normal. I don't know if this is on screen right now. And then all of a sudden, everything started sprinting left. And basically where we're at now is that the liberal Democrat became a progressive, and a progressive became a woke progressive, and a woke progressive became a democratic socialist. And basically we're just advocating for communism at this point. And it's scary to see the slippery slope of what's going on here. And you don't need to be MAGA, you don't need to be a Republican to basically see what's going on. You just need to open your eyes and use common sense. Last point is this. In the 1950s, when the height of the Cold War, there was a congressman, senator, I believe, Joseph McCarthy. Do you remember the concept of McCarthyism? Mm-hmm. He was basically saying, hey, listen, guys, I don't want to have to tell you this, but there's been a communist infiltration in the United States. We're going to go out of our way and find these people. At this point, McCarthyism would just be like stating the obvious. We have Mamdani, we have AOC, we have Karen Bass, we have this new crop of leadership who's basically a blend of Obama and Bernie Sanders, and they're openly advocating for socialism and they're campaigning on it. This weird mix of this red-green alliance of communists and Islamists and woke, it's scary to see, and it just shows as Americans, as people who love the flag, we've got some major work to do.
Let me tell you also, this is something you have to be thinking about over and over again. If you go into 2028, it's going to be simple. If young men can't afford to get married, to buy a house, to have kids, socialism will come up, period. My speculation is you're going to see more one-employee billionaires, okay? And I saw this, Sam Altman said it in an interview. You're going to have one-employee billionaires. How do I know this? One of our clients that did a good-sized engagement with us the next 12 months, whom I've spent many, many hours with, he built a $100 million EBITDA company with one employee, is what he built. And it was written about all over New York Times. And he's one of our clients. We had dinner together. We went through. He's actually got a very good story of what he did himself. You're going to see more stories of guys becoming millionaires, no problem. But then you're also going to see the people that are not going to events. They're not going to courses. They're not going to go learn how to improve themselves. And they're going to be left behind. So this gap, you know, the rich get richer, poor get poor. You've heard that saying before. Mm-hmm. The gap is going to widen in ways we've never, ever seen before. Look at the wide gap, the gap between the richest people in America. Can you do me a favor? Go to the top 10 richest people. Go in 2010, then go 2000, then go 1990, then go 1980. Look at the gap of the top 10 richest people in 1980, 1990, 2000, and 2010, right? If you go and look at this gap between the four of them, and just ask that question in ChatGPT instead of DuckDuckGo. Just go ask that question. Guys, this is too slow to do it this way. Just ask the question in ChatGPT to see what it is. Yeah, if you ask it right there and you go through it, watch this, and what you'll notice. Vinny, this is by far what is going to be an issue that we have to figure out a way to address the next decade. And I think it's going to accelerate heavily the next 3 years. So who is the richest man in the world today?
On paper,
Elon Musk. What is he worth? 1.4 trillion. Yeah. What's the number two guy worth? 300 billion.
I was going to say it's not even close. Probably.
Okay, so check this out. 300 billion. What's the difference between 300 billion and 1.4 trillion? 3
more billionaires.
No, it's four. It's four more 300 billionaires. Okay, so watch this. 4x. So the gap between number one and number two is 4x. Look at 1990. Who was number one? 16 billion. What's the gap? Did you just go to Japan only, or is it everybody?
No.
Okay, Walton family, 3, DuPont. Okay, look at the gap between 1 and 2. What is the gap? 10%.
Yeah.
What is the gap today? 400%.
Jeez.
What is the gap in 2010? In 2000s, go a little bit lower. Look at Gates. 60 billion to what? $13 billion. How big is that gap? 20%. That's not a big gap. Go to the next one, 2010. 2010 it's who? Slim, 53 billion. What's 2? 53 billion. What's the gap there? $500 million. Today, the gap, we've never had a gap this wide. So you're a trillionaire, I'm worth 300 billion. Then there's a bunch of guys worth hundreds of billions. Then there's a couple decabillionaires. Then there's billionaires. Then there's hectamillionaires. Then there's decamillionaires. Then there's millionaires, right? Okay. Republicans have to figure out to make sure the disparity doesn't cause such a wide range where the average man cannot get up in the morning who just got out of college to get married, to buy a house, to have kids. If Republicans can't solve that problem, guess what the socialist argument's going to be, which is going to be very easy. Give me the socialist argument. Go ahead. It's the billionaire's fault.
Yep.
It's the trillionaire's fault. They're taking all your money, and guess who's here to help? Guess who's here to help?
The government.
U.S. government is here to help.
Yeah.
And guess who says yes to things like that? Either super young people or super old people. What are super old people worried about? Say you're 76 years old.
Social Security.
You're worried about Social Security, retirement, and your health insurance. Mm-hmm. If you're a Republican and you even think about saying you want to take Social Security away, they automatically vote for a Democrat.
They're going.
So they have these two audiences. Baby boomers are massive, and you have this next generation that's coming up as massive. They both have similar problems. Now, what do you do with them? Now, some of the boomers made better decisions. So, some of the Gen X and millennials will say, well, boomers made it bad for us and all this other stuff. We see what happens when Brandon's here. So for me, with this argument is to think it cannot have enough traction for 2028, 2032, you are naive because it's coming around the corner. Vinny.
Yeah, especially that young base that you're talking about, Pat. Like you mentioned TPUSA. Now imagine all those young kids, and now they're pushing that whole, guys, the government will take care. Trust me, we're going to, like, Ro Khanna was on Bill Maher, and he's saying that 5%, what did he say? He said, Ro Khanna said, for 5% tax one time on Elon Musk, you could have universal child care in America for $10 a day for every family. Mind you,
Elizabeth Warren?
No, this is Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna was on
Bill Maher.
But he was speaking to Jennifer Welch when he said this, but he was on Bill Maher as well. And mind you, this is Ro Khanna, number one, because Nancy's gone, number one stock trader in Congress. Last year, he reported 4,300 trades, Pat, with $59 million in total trade volume. He also just bought a $9.5 million house in the D.C. area. Put that aside, but it's always the same. Take more money from the people who build businesses, who create jobs and invent products, and take the risk and let the government redistribute it how they want it and how they do it. And I could see the pitch. And mind you, it's always these champagne socialists, Bernie Sanders, who's on private jets with AOC, tax the rich, billionaires, but they have $3 million houses. It's ridiculous, Pat. The more you punish success, the less incentive people have to build the next company. Imagine if you're that guy, Pat. You're the young Elon Musk. If that's the attitude, tax him. Then what the hell? Why would I have incentive?
I'm actually not worried about. I'm not worried about the Elon Musks.
Not him, but
when we were building the insurance company, Tikran and Tom and I would sit in the room and I would say, what's the most important number? And they would say, what? I said, the most important number, how to value if the company was growing or not. How many people do we have in the company making over $4,000 a month? That was the number. Mm-hmm. So if the company was growing, it's because we had more people making $4K a month. And I would always go and say, we're growing. Or I would come in and say, guys, we're dipping the last 90 days. Why? Look at how many people are making $4,000 a month. So I would run a 90-day period, and I would look how many of my guys made $12,000 in 90 days, because that's 4 a month times 3 months. So, so the number you need is enough guys making money to pay rent, to pay this, to pay that, and the same's going to come here. Here's a clip that talks about why this applies. Is that I'm glad you found that. So let's go to the Bill Maher video when he's talking to, what's his name? Ro Khanna, and they ask about Mamdani. And look what Ro Khanna said about Mamdani. Go ahead.
I think Mamdani's a great one, huh?
I do. I mean, did you see his Knicks speech? I mean, anyone
not the issue that most concerned me.
It's worth a watch because the speech was not just about the Knicks. First of all, he recites every Knicks player. I mean, I couldn't do that about the 49ers.
Who gives a shit about the Knicks? He's the mayor of New York.
Well, yeah, but he talks about how it's actually bringing people together. Trump voters, Mamdani voters, how it's overcoming the odds. And he took a speech that was just about celebrating the championship, and he made something bigger about it. He's a talented
Well, it doesn't make me forget that his wife loved October 7th attack on Israel, and that he pals around with terrorists.
No, come on. Yeah. Have you had him on the show?
We ask people like that, Ro. They never come.
I'll talk to him. I think
I
he
would
should
love
come.
that. I think he should too.
I think if you come, you have a conversation.
You can pause the rest of it.
Can I ask you a question? As somebody like a Ro Khanna, multi-millionaire, what is his incentive for being in the government to push this socialist, communist ideology? He's obviously backing. First of all, who gives it? Congratulations to the Knicks, but did you see his speech about what about all the other nonsense that he's doing and he's destroying the city? But hey, he knows the Knicks starting 5. That doesn't matter. My question is, those people, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders, the Ro Khannas that are filthy rich, but they play this whole, what are they going to get out of this communist socialist agenda if it hits home? And
power.
Benny, there's 2 different types of people in the world. I'll let Tom say it. Go ahead, Tom.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I was reacting.
No, it's all good. I want to hear
it. That. Yeah,
they get power. They get power.
And they get power. And you think about Adam Schiff over the weekend. So if you took $1 trillion, that's $7,500 for you, and you. He does this speech. And so now people are like, wait a minute, I could get $7,500. You know what I could do with that? I could pay a little of a credit card. I could afford a little bit of this. If you don't have those people, if we don't have more people, as we used to say, making $4,000 a month, worth almost $50,000 a year, then those people feel like there's no hope. And then these jackals come from on top, and they feel like there's hope. Elizabeth Warren, it doesn't matter. I posted last week, and I said to Elizabeth Warren, I didn't think she was being honest when she said, if we took all of Elon Musk's wealth, we could do so much for childcare in America. And I responded to her, you're not being honest. If you took all of Elon Musk's wealth, you couldn't cover the gap in spending versus budget of the United States of America this year. And if you look at a daily spend, all of Elon Musk's wealth would be consumed in 100 days of government spending. I'm being logical. It doesn't matter to the people that are out there that are not having something, and so they hear these voices and they're like,
you'll have
you
people
could
you
give
work
me something.
with when you were in high school, and there are people that are driven by freedom. There are people that are driven by control. Okay, there are people that are driven by freedom. There are people that are driven by control, and you always have to watch both. Okay, so you'll see a very, very controlling father. Everything is under control, right? Everything is under control. Super, super high score of control. You're like, yeah. Eventually, it's like, what? Man, just leave me alone. Let me just go be free, right? You need a little bit of control as a father. You need to know. But the kids need to have a little bit of what? Space to identify what they want to do, right? But you ever met a very, very, very controlling person? Mm-hmm. Did you have somebody like that? It could be a girl, an ex, a friend, an uncle.
Of course.
Okay. How was it being in there? How is it being in that relationship?
Horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Guess what? These guys are driven by control. Control is their currency, period. Not freedom, not money. It's control. I need money so I can control you, is what it is. So it's a very different mindset that they have. Now, I want to get to the story, and then, Adam, I'm going to come to you. An article comes out saying 1 in 3 adults under the age of 35 lives with parents as housing costs soar. And Adam, I want you to transition into this story, not go to previous 2 stories, on this story. So 1 in 3 adults under the age of 35 lives with parents as housing costs soar. If you want to play this clip, go for it.
Realtor.com reveals that a third of young people are still living with their parents. These are not strictly college students looking to save money on room and board. We're talking about a record 25 million people under 35, higher than at any time in history.
Crazy.
Now, that includes more than 20% of 25 to 29-year-olds and more than 10% of 30 to 34-year-olds. These young people aren't just sitting around at home.
These young people?
About 70% of them are employed.
These are not young people.
But a lot of them say that they haven't left the nest because they can't afford one of their own. The median home price last year hit $430,000, up more than 34% before the pandemic. The median monthly rent has climbed nearly 18%.
So, okay, when you see something like that, under the age of 35, living with parents, 30 to 35 was what, 12.7%. Under 30 was 21 to whatever the number was, 21.7%, 20.4%. These are not, the way she said it, these are young people. Dude, if you're 35, you ain't young. Right. You may have a couple gray hair when you shave. You ain't young when you're 35. What do you mean 35, you're young? Go eat a full pizza at 35 and see what happens to your belly the next day.
Yeah.
So 35 is not 21 years old or 22 years old trying to figure life out. So
what was that movie? Failure to Launch? Remember that about the kid that never moved out?
Yeah, it was called Step Brothers. Step Brothers.
Failure
is the one
to
I
Launch.
think about. Adam, when you see this stat, what do you think about?
So 1 in 3 adults under 35 are living with their parents. I would basically look at it one of 2 ways. You have the losers, and then you have the winners. Break it all down. I would say the losers are using their parents as a crutch. They can't figure life out. They're basically saying, life's hard, victim, victim, victim. I'm oppressed. I don't know why the world is changing so fast. I don't want to improve. It's not fair. It's not fair. Let me just stay with mommy and daddy. Good luck if that's your methodology and ideology. If you are one of those people that is living at home and under 35 and you're basically have a winning attitude, you're saying, wow, I'm saving, what's the average rent right now? $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Okay, cool. So over this year, I'm going to save 20-something grand. If I live at home for the next 3 to 5 years, I could save $100,000. Wow, look at me now. That's enough to put a down payment on. That's enough to start a business. That's enough to say, hey, I'll get a roommate and figure life out. All these little sort of like minor little things are basically a reflection of society. Okay, living costs are high. I get it. owning a house is maybe as difficult as it's ever been, but what are you going to do about it? You know, the book that we always talk about, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yep.
Your cheese has been moved. It's all good. Were you going to sit there and cry that housing is expensive or that girl doesn't want to date you? The losers will complain while the winners will figure it out and do something about it. I highly encourage you to be a winner.
Yeah, so yesterday we're driving back from IMG because my son had a tournament. We weren't watching Who Moved the Cheese. It was Who Cut the Cheese.
I've hung out with Dylan before.
Hey,
oh, my God.
Don't call him out because
sorry.
Dylan's got competition.
Oh.
Do not call him out like that. Dylan had
Dylan boy.
Dylan had a great weekend. It's the first time, by the way, and it's a lifetime of going to soccer matches, and we've driven all over the place. You know how many weekends we drove miles and miles and miles, and he scored 0 goals or played a quarter or 2, and that's it? This is his career. He's had 2 hat tricks in his career. This weekend at an IMG tournament, 5 games. Out of the 5 games, 3 games he had a hat trick in. One of them he had 6 goals, 3 assists. He played lights out.
for him.
He was the captain, MVP. It was great. He crushed it. We had a good time. It was a great Father's Day gift.
Nice.
And, you know, we're sitting there. And so let me tell you.
What are you saying, that he's so successful, he's moving out of the house now, he's going to rent his own place?
By the way, he may be moving out of the house. And I'm actually being openly. He may be moving out of the house in the next 12 months. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as you're going through this. But I will tell you, on the drive back, we stopped by this restaurant in Naples. Let me give it a shout out real quick. It's called... what is it called? Cafe, something cafe, Milan Cafe, Milano Cafe, something like that. I texted you. I said, what is the place? I think it's called Milano Cafe.
Cafe Milano.
Cafe Milano. So we go to, it's off of 5th Avenue. The waitress is Cuban. Food was ridiculous. Pizza was out of control. I ate this chicken Parmigiano. You know, sometimes you order chicken Parmigiano, they bring something this massive that you can hurt somebody and play the
Not a fan.
This was a right amount of chicken Parmigiano. They brought in. The balsamic glaze was thick enough. And they had this, what do you call it, this burrata cheese salad. Well, you know how they cut these small little tomatoes and they're different colored
the
tomatoes?
heirloom one?
And they put the glaze. It was just phenomenal. So anyways,
now. Thanks.
All right, I've heard enough. Vinny, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm out.
So we go there, and you and I went there last time, and we were
awesome.
listening to the one song, Napoli.
Napoli.
And a lady comes, sits right in front of us, and Vinny just goes like this.
Yeah.
Do you remember how hot she was? Sits right there, and I'm like, Vinny, your future wife just arrived. And then you know what ends up happening? The husband shows up, screws the whole thing up.
What a hater.
What a hater, right.
I hate when they
we
do
were
that.
about to walk up. But anyways, so we're there yesterday, and this kind of applies to these 35-year-olds that want to live with their parents. I start doing career planning with one of the kids at the dinner table. Okay, and I won't give names. But we leave, and he's like, I feel like you're steering me in a certain direction with career, and I want to be able to choose what I want to do. I said, you think I'm steering you in a certain direction? He says, yes. I said, okay. For 2 hours, I'm sitting there on the drive back because it's a 4-hour drive back, so that was the halfway point. I'm like, I'm going to have a conversation with this guy when we get home. We get home. Everybody's asleep. Not everybody. Everybody's taking showers. He's downstairs. I'm outside doing my thing, and all of a sudden he comes in. He says, Dad, can we talk? I'm like, yeah. So we definitely have to talk. Let's sit down. I said, what do you think my concerns are? What do you think my motives are? So I said, you know what? I need to have this meeting with my son. Parents, you have to do this with your kids. I do this with everybody in my life. Everybody, my spouse, my peers. It doesn't matter if it's here, employees, executive, investors. Every relationship in your life, there's 5 things you got to address with each one of them because they're thinking this the entire time. You know what the 5 things are? Concerns, motives, assumptions, fears, and asks. Let me say it again. Concerns, motives, assumptions, fears, and asks. So I sat down, took out a piece of paper, took a picture of it because it was a very good moment for us that we had together. So I said, tell me what your concerns are, and I'll tell you if it's a real concern that I think about or not. He starts giving it to me. I said, 0, I don't even think about that. He says, oh, I thought you did. I said, I never think about that. I don't care if you go to college or not go to college. I said, do you know your dad wrote a book called Drop Out and Get Schooled with Tom? He said, you wrote a book called Drop Out and Get Schooled? I said, yeah. He said, well, Charlie wrote a book called College is a Scam 2 years ago. I said, bro, I made a video, College is a Scam, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, type in College is a Scam 2000 and type in College is a Scam by David.
Yep.
Okay, and you'll see then Tom and I wrote a book called Drop Out. I said, I don't care if you want to go to college or not. If you go on YouTube, honestly, stop using DuckDuckGo in this process you're using. It's irritating the hell out of me. It's slow. Just go on YouTube, type in College is a Scam by David. College is college a scam. College is a scam by David. Yeah. College is a scam by David. And so he says, okay, so I didn't know that. So then we went through right there, the third one, okay? That video we made with the help of Gerard Michaels Heron, if you guys remember Gerard. We worked on that together. It was a very good video we did. He cut it and he did a very good job with the team. Yeah. So you can pause it right there. Thanks, guys. So
you said concerns?
Yeah, so
motive?
Concerns. So he gives me the next concern. He says, is this one of your concerns? I said, that one is, 100%. He said, well, that's good to know. How about the next one? So we went through 3 of them. It's private between he and I. So I said, okay, give me your assumptions. What
You're
are you
talking
assuming?
to your son?
I'm talking to one of my kids.
Gotcha.
I said, what are you assuming I'm thinking right now? So he said, my assumptions are that you want this. I said, nope. My assumptions are this. I said, nope. Okay, that's good. I thought that. My assumptions are this. I said, that one, you're right. But let me add another one for you to be. I said, is this one of them? He said, actually, don't even think about that at all. Do you think about this? No. So I clarified my assumptions of what he's assuming. He clarified his assumptions of what I'm assuming. So we went to the next one. I said, so what are your motives? He said, man, I just want to be able to live my dreams. I said, tell me your dreams. Boom. So what do you think my motives are? Probably the same. I said, okay, great. What are the motives you got? Boom, 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 boom. I said, do you think I want you to be in the family business? He says, I think you do. I said, 100%. I said, do you think if you don't, I will be hurt? He says, you probably will be. I said, I will be. I said, but do you think if you never come into the family business, I will still support whatever you do? He says, I think you will. I said, great. So let's set that aside. We know both our motives. So I said, let's go to the next one. What fears do you have? And he says, honestly, I don't really have any fears. I said, let me tell you my fears. So I told him my fears. He said, those are your fears? I said, yeah. He said, well, maybe I have one fear. He gave me his. I said, so give me your ask. What asks do you have? Then he sat down and he said, these are my asks. I said, no problem, buddy. These are my asks. Great. And then we wrote the sickest plan for him. I'll share with you afterwards when we're together. We'll go to dinner because I want him to express it to you.
Please.
This became, when mommy came downstairs, I said, can you tell mommy out of all the meetings we've had, and you've been part of
course,
many of them in your truck when we're sitting there.
Yep.
I said, out of all the meetings we've had, where do you rank this one? He says, this is the second best meeting you and I have ever had about my life.
Oh.
I said, I love it, son. So guess what, parents? Reason why I share this with you is because one of the greatest architects of our lifetime in Barcelona, his name is Antoni Gaudi. If you guys can just search him up, thank you so much. Antoni Gaudi is with an I believe. Yeah, Gaudi, there you go. He starts working on this property the last 43 years of his life. The guy died in 1926. And it's called Sagrada, I believe, Familia. Okay, I've been to the property when it wasn't yet done in 2008. It's getting done this year. Vinny, do you know what's crazy about the Sagrada Familia? When they asked him, they said, why are you so excited about building a property that you will never see the final product? You know what his answer was? His answer was, my client is not in a hurry.
Wow.
This is the tallest church in the world. It's 56 stories.
Wow.
He said, I wanted to build a Bible made out of stone. It is the tallest church in the world. Vinny, it looks ridiculous when you walk into this place. Incredible. But his client is not in a hurry. As a parent, we need to understand that we need to become better parents, but God is patient with us. And number 2, we need to be patient with the development with our kids, but not 35 years. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, where are you going?
Not 35 years, Doug. Come on, buddy.
That's so funny.
Get out there and figure this thing out. So, by the way, parents, July 1st, 6 p.m., I'm hosting a free webinar on how to raise strong kids in a weak culture. And we're talking about 6 different types of fathers and many conversations to have with your kids. These are 10 important conversations to have with your kids. If you haven't yet registered for it, go to vtwebinar.com. Register free. We'll sit down. We'll go through all this stuff. And at the end, I'm going to give you notes and different resources for you to use as well. But July 1st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to vtwebinar.com. I got thousands of messages of people telling me, I'm getting on with my wife. We're getting on with all our kids. I'm getting on with my husband. I'm going to force my husband to get on. I can't wait to spend that time with you guys. And just please don't bring your 35-year-old son. I can't do anything about that part.
Can I ask you a follow-up?
Yeah, of course.
What do you call these 5 rules question? What's the methodology?
By the way,
called?
Your girl has it. You have it with her. Me and Tom have it. When Tom and I were selling PHP, Tom and I had a very important meeting. And we sat down. And he says, Pat, I have only one request, one ask, and one concern in our relationship. It's between us. It's nobody's business. But we sat down and we covered it. And how long was that conversation, Tom?
It was a short conversation, but it was a long discussion because it led to all kinds of stuff about the
How many issues do we have after the specific concerns and asks that we both had? How many issues have we had on that? My concerns, my ask and your concerns and your asks.
I really don't think we have any.
By the way, let me tell you.
It doesn't mean we haven't disagreed and bumped.
No,
but we haven't had any.
No,
big ones.
zero. Tom and I, since that conversation till today, have had zero major issues. Now, keep in mind, did we have a major issue, tier 10, let tier 1, say 2017?
October of 18, yeah.
October of 18. Massive. Outside of a Starbucks in Dallas. Massive. The worst moment of our friendship together. But both of us had to mature because he knows I love him and I know he loves me. We had an incredible dinner at Ocean Air, January of 2021. And Jennifer sat right next to me. It was as if her and Tom were on a date and I was on a date with his wife. It was one of the best moments the four of us ever had together.
Wow.
So this applies to every relationship in your life. Concerns, motives, assumptions, fears, and asks. Do this with anybody. Literally get a paper and out and say, babe, what concerns do you have? What motives do you have? What fears do you have? What assumptions do you have? And what is your ask? And we kind of move on from there.
I think it's super important. I mean, I don't know if there's an acronym for it or a title for something like this, but in any aspect of your life, relationship, work, whatever, getting these 5 things out of the way, I think is a major
Oh my
hurdle
God!
you can
By the way, I've been
get over.
doing this with managing. In any relationship, I didn't do it. We always had problems. Any relationship I did it with, we moved on and we grew from it. So, all right, let's get to the next story. Next one I want to get into is, the negotiations taking place, right? Vance is in Switzerland.
Yep.
The Iranian people show up, the delegates, to want to negotiate with Vance. Bunch of videos are going viral. They're sitting there talking to each other. There's clips of saying, look, they're punking Vance. Qatar's leader didn't even want to shake the vice president's hands. You can play some of these clips so they can see it. That is the broker who's trying to make this deal happen. And this is the moment they're kissing and looking this. That's a Qatar leader, walks off. And it looked like JD wanted to shake hands, but he went the other direction. Some are saying they spoke before. And look, JD keeps trying to, but he looked at him, so he gave him the right attention as well. And then there's the moment, if you have this, where the Pakistani leader in the middle who is trying to negotiate the deal, but Iranian delegation comes in and says he can't say something like that. And apparently they got up and they left the meeting. Okay, can you press play on this one, please? This was the moment, and if you look at the leader's face, he's like, wait a minute, what just happened? That's the Pakistani leader on the right that's been trying to broker the deal. And suddenly he's like, wait a minute, what took place? And allegedly, they decided to leave, and they left everybody there and look at Vance. So again, 100% of what I'm saying to you right now is speculation. 100% of what I'm telling you right now is speculation. I'm not telling you based on facts that I know. But then they left. And allegedly, both groups agreed to give each other 16 days to figure this part out. JD left. The other folks left. The next tier of players stayed. So imagine the C-suite executives left, but the VPs and directors are there to negotiate the deal together. They got 16 days. While this is going on, the president tweeted something about getting the deal done. And this tweet really upset a lot of Iranians, and they said, we don't take the president's threat seriously. And the threat was something like, if you guys don't get the deal done, we're going to bomb Iran in ways we have never bombed Iran before, and
Again.
Yeah, again. And yeah, Iran must immediately stop the highly paid proxies in Lebanon from causing trouble. If they don't, we'll hit Iran hard again, just like we did last week, only harder. And so this is one, but there's another one as well. Another one is like, let's get this deal done. And Iran's people are like, we're not taking this negotiation seriously. And so this is led in. I'll pause here real quick, Tom, to come to you, and then we'll get into the real issue that I want us to process together. Go ahead, Tom. Your thoughts on this?
Well, the first thing I think that is good is what's happening in the background. And what's happening in the background today, right now, can you pull the Straits of Hormuz tracker real quick? You guys have it. It should be on your list. It should be already up as a tab in there. Okay, scroll down. Pat, watch this. Look at this. How many ship transponders are in the narrow part of the Strait of Hormuz right now? 55. A normal day before February 20th was 60. So the Iranians may be saying, well, the straits are still closed, we're doing this and everything, but somehow 55 ships are coming through. So this is a good thing. So whatever is happening, I think there's two things happening, Pat. I think there's a little bit of theater in the front end, like a tweet from our president, walking into a room, walking out on these guys' behalf. But I think there's also posturing for the big discussions and the big issues. I don't think these are walkaways right now. I think people are posturing over the big issues. And you've got ships moving through the strait, which is good news for all of us, frankly. And you're looking at J.D. Vance. Yeah, he's been in play. I mean, he's been on tour in the U.S. I mean, look at all the podcasts he was on. Look at all the shows he was on. He was on The View. He's out there. He was referred to as the architect. So J.D. is really out there trying to get it done. But I think that was a bunch of posturing in that room when it came in so that they could go to the back room and then lever what they really want. Because nobody's shooting at the Gulf at this moment. There's 55 ships freely transporting, which is the first time in 100 days this has happened.
Yeah, by the way, in Iran, there was a video that came up. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, where they're talking about and bragging. And I'll just read it to you. Hassan Khomeini, grandson of the founder of the Islamic regime, Ruhollah Mustafa Mossavi Khomeini, the original guy from 79, founder of IRGC, held the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, as a major victory for Tehran, promising that the greater jihad would now begin. According to a speech aired by state media earlier this week, Khomeini advised that to maintain victory, Iranians must stay away from the pointless disputes that are the product of ego and self-centeredness. While it is unclear which dispute he was referring to, the regime has struggled to suppress growing domestic dissent, most visibly during the January demonstrations that erupted over the country's worsening economic conditions. Human rights organizations say tens of thousands of protesters were killed and tens of thousands were detained by security forces during the crackdown. The regime imposed a nationwide internet shutdown, preventing independence. So while they're having, this is on a private chat that the discussion's being had, but, Iranians are sitting there behind closed doors like, guys, we're about to get a pretty sick deal. And a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, hey, this $300 billion, what is that going to look like? And what did he say about the $300 billion?
J.D. Vance came out earlier today and he said, or maybe last night, maybe this morning, he goes, we're going to guarantee none of that is going to go to fund terrorism. And to go to your point, Pat, the tweet that you were talking about, President Trump said, you close the strait and you won't have a country. You won't even make it back to your effing country, meaning they're there in Switzerland.
Can you pull up that tweet so the audience can see it?
Yeah, you won't make it back to your country. Because if you think about it, they're all right there. I get it. Swiss, they're there. They're trying to have these peace negotiations. And I have one question, Pat, real quick, not to divert the conversation, but if their Air Force is gone, the IRGC, the Navy is gone, they're down to just nuclear dust. How are we, how are they still calling shots, so to speak, and how are they even thinking that they're victorious?
Because their drone and rocket programs are only about 50% depleted. That you're correct about the Navy. You're correct about
Air Force, and they're down to dust.
Well, and if they're down to dust, where are they getting all these rockets? I mean, Adam, where are they getting the rockets and the mid-range missiles that they keep launching at people? So they may be crippled, but they've hidden enough in bunkers and things that they can still
cause problems,
launching stumps and cause problems.
Got it.
Adam.
Look, J.D. Vance is in a tough situation right here. I mean, they say it's only funny because it's true. That whole situation, watch out, J.D., I'm going to blame it on you, that whole thing. Watch that turn out to be true, because J.D. Vance is in a very tough situation here, because he's basically has to defend a deal that I'm not even sure if Trump really believes in this deal. How can anybody trust what's going on in Iran? I've basically boiled down what's going on to what I call the 4 M's in this Iran deal. Number one is midterms. Trump wanted to basically use this as on his birthday at the UFC to basically say, we have a deal. There's no deal. There's a memorandum of understanding, but Trump is basically trying to salvage the midterms. Number two, money. We're basically bleeding them dry with the Hormuz, but Trump, because of midterms, there's another M, basically wanted to sort of take the pedal off the metal and say, look, let's try to basically salvage midterms and work out a deal with these guys. The next one is murder for M. You're negotiating with people who are willing to murder 30, 40, 50, 100,000 of their own people like that. How do you negotiate with something like that? They say never negotiate with terrorists, but the terrorists are typically willing to kill other people. These people are willing to kill their own people. Let's not forget that. And the last M is Muhammad. Respect to you, respect to different people's religions. These people believe that they are sent from Allah via Muhammad to take over the world with Shia Islam. How are you going to negotiate out of that? You ever negotiate with somebody who's like, I'm not moving my position? I've dealt with people like that in my life. Sometimes they're women, sometimes they're business people, but those people won't blow themselves up for what they believe in. This is what we're dealing with. So JD Vance, good luck. Salute to you for trying to make a deal out there, but it's going to be very tough to do.
Yeah. So while this is going on and he's out there, and by the way, this is a big boy club. Hey, see if these people respect you or not. See how they handle you. See if your word carries weight. Because do you know how you know if world leaders take you seriously? Think about it. If you're a VP and you go on the road, how do you know if they take you seriously? How do they know if they take you seriously?
If you saw Trump, what he did at the G7, everybody stopped. Everybody paid
No.
attention.
Hear me out. No. Wait. You're a VP. Okay, he was already a president.
But I'm talking about what Trump did.
I get, but once you're president, you're what? You're the president. I better give you respect.
Well,
you're the guy.
You can
what
argue
I'm saying
it didn't
is,
happen with Biden.
what I'm saying is, how do you know when a VP enters the room that everybody stops and reacts to you accordingly? What is the way they react? What are they telling you to your face?
Either they respect you or they don't.
Why? What are they telling you to your face if they don't respect you? And what are they telling you to your face if they do respect you? It's one thing.
If they do respect you, they think you may be the guy and you may be back here as commander-in-chief.
That's exactly the point. And that's it. That's it. If they respect you behind closed doors, every one of these guys has to know who are the three people that could be the next president. And if you're going to be the next president, I better give you respect.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they handle him is they don't think he's going to be the president next. That's my impression.
Good point.
The way they spoke to him, I don't think they're saying he's going to be the next president. I think they're saying you have some work to do, maybe in 10 years, but we think the next president's going to be Marco Rubio. Because when Marco Rubio goes on the road, this is not what happens. When Marco Rubio went on the road, now, listen, this is way too early to speculate and say anything. JD has to be able to go here and command. He has to go there and he has the, is it pizzazz? Is that the word? He has the
panache.
He has the ability
presence and charisma.
Yeah, he has the ability to be tough. He has it. I think he needs to be a little bit more. If they're doing a good cop, bad cop, he's trying to be a good cop. I don't think he's the good cop. I think the good cop is probably more Witkoff and Kushner. That's their job because whoever's talking to the client the most, that's who needs to be the good cop. Whoever talks to the client the least, that's who needs to be the bad cop. Guess who talks to the client the least? Trump. He's the bad cop.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, Kushner and Witkoff are going to be the good cop and say, look, we don't want to piss off the boss. But JD needs to go a little bit and also be a second representation of Trump and show a little bit toughness. So what are we doing? We came here for no deal. Is this what you're going to be doing? You know what's going to happen next? There needs to be a little bit of that because I see Rubio would do that. And I think JD has it. JD was in business. JD's been in many rooms with many business guys. I want to see that come out a little bit, not just on podcasts, but in those types of settings. And I'm sure it's happening, so it's not like I'm next to him. I'm speculating right now based on what I'm saying. So this is leading to a couple things that happen. You had Miriam Adelson that gave $100 million to the president's campaign, I believe. She came out and she had an article. I don't know if you guys have that article or not. If you want to pull it up, there's two stories. Adelson that came out and said, you could have been the greatest president of all time, but you failed. Mr. President, you have greatly harmed the human interests of the enlightened world, and you may be remembered forever as the president who brought about America's humiliation. You betrayed us, the Israelis, and in a single moment, the contempt you once faced suddenly seems so justified and logical. Danny Zakin rise to the U.S. president. Okay, so that's that. Now, another story is with the Murdochs, which is what? Fox News. I don't know what page that's in. I saw it earlier in one of the articles. There it is. Murdoch outlets turn on Trump's deal, and this is a Newsweek story now on what they're talking about with Trump. So you got Fox and Murdoch's, two of the most heavyweight names in conservative media. Murdoch's being the biggest heavyweight, but Adelson being they bought the Mavericks, I think, from Mark Cuban. In a rare break from one of Trump's most important media ecosystem, Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, and New York Post have all published criticism of the administration's Iran agreement. The criticism is notable because Murdoch's owned outlets have frequently aligned with Trump over the past decade and remain highly influential amongst Republican voters. Fox News hosts are questioning whether Iran actually lost. This is Brian Kilmeade called the Memorandum of Understanding very vague and concerning. Then you have Mark Levin has emerged as one of the deal's harshest critics. Then Wall Street Journal and New York Post raised similar concerns in the editorial. So this is a battle that he's facing today. So this is what it leads me to. It leads to this conversation of Vance versus Rubio. Vance versus Rubio. And why is this such a big story? Well, Forbes has this article, and I don't give a lot of credit to Forbes that went from being the capitalist tool to the socialist tool. Mm-hmm. But Forbes writes this article of Iran war spotlights Rubio versus Vance battle. Trump has increasingly pitted these two against each other. This is what the article says. Rubio is likely to have the support of Wall Street and establishment donors, while Vance has deep ties to Silicon Valley, which has become more friendly with Republicans since Trump's first term and was less of a factor in the 2016 presidential election, the last time Rubio ran. Vance has also cozied up to billionaire donors as the Republican National Committee to Finance chair, et cetera, et cetera. Numerous reports have emerged of Trump asking his billionaire friends who they support, and Trump's acknowledged publicly he's watching the pair. Okay, if you see this situation, when the president was speaking about, the joke when the guy said, well, if it works out, you can take the victory. If it doesn't, you can blame who? J.D. Vance. Remember that? And do you remember who was standing behind him? Who was standing behind him? One guy was standing behind him, and that was who? That was
it Howard?
Marco Rubio.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
To the right.
And Rubio, when he was standing back there, he wasn't smiling. Why was he not smiling? I don't know. Again, remember, guys, we just speculate. We're not on the inside to tell you exactly what's going on. We're just giving you speculation and access to some of the context that we have when we speak to them. So, guys, I'm going to send you this clip. See if you can pull this up or not on Twitter, because I know Twitter's having issues right now. It's a clip of what Marco Rubio said about Iran. Okay? It's a video about what Marco Rubio said about Iran. I think it's worth watching.
Is this the one from like 10 years ago?
I don't know when this video is from.
Was he in Congress?
Let me. This video is, if you can check to see when this. No, he's not in Congress. You're saying 2015. No.
Gotcha.
I'm not going that far back.
Gotcha.
Let me know if you guys got the video, because the video is from June 19th by Rubio.
Like 2026, so very recent.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if these guys are pulling it up or not. Okay, there they are. Okay, can you also fact check to see when this was? Because it says to me June 19th there, but is this a recent or is it a older video? Okay, because I think this is a recent video of what he's saying. Go ahead and play the clip. I'll pull up the dates and I'll tell. I want the audience to see this. Go for it, folks. I'm either deaf or I can't hear audio. Can we get audio, guys?
I can hear it higher.
It's very important for guys to see this video.
I can hear it.
Okay, then if there's no audio on the clip, then don't worry about it. But this is a video from a few months back on what he said. I think this is a February 15th clip where he is not necessarily negotiating with these folks to see if they're going to keep their deal or not. Now, this has been said for a long time. So I don't know what Rubio's position is here. I don't know if Rubio wants to see IRGC stay intact. I don't know if he is someone that is okay with this deal getting done. I don't know if Hexed wants this. Now, you got to realize Hexed is military, and Rubio is a guy that's been there for a minute. JD is more of an outsider that got in, okay, that's involved. So Rubio's been involved a lot longer. Hexed's been in the military a lot longer. So I don't know if the entire administration's on the same page or not about this. It's a great thing about Team of Rivals, but it's also about watching to see what's happening. So I think this is going to lead to a big debate on the stage in 2028 on where they each stand. And I actually look forward to the primaries of the host, Brett Baer, asking the question, where do you each stand with IRGC moving forward in Iran? Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know what both Rubio and JD's positions will be on this. Tom, what do you think they're going to lie with this? How do you process this between the two of them?
I think Rubio's been pretty clear. He doesn't want to necessarily put tens of thousands of boots on the ground and risk those lives. But I think he's been clear that you needed, if you're going to do this, you got to get all the way in there and you got to take care of IRGC. I think Rubio hasn't put out battle plans, but I think he's been clear there. And I don't know where J.D. Vance is exactly. He's clearly out there supporting the deal, supporting getting a deal done. So he's using deal language in support of the president, and he's been on tour using deal language. But I honestly think that Rubio, dating back to his 8 years ago in the Senate, where he openly said, hey, the issues that you're going to have with Iran is the regime. And he has said the same things that Adam has repeated. They don't care about their people, so this is a different type of situation. It's not negotiation. So that's where I think they are, Pat. I think he really wanted to go a little deeper and force the regime change. And I think Vance is out there talking deal. We needed to get through this, and he's that kind of language.
Yeah. Do you think 2028, let's say Rubio becomes the president, hypothetically, do you think this will come back up on the issue, or he's moving on from this? Let's just say they get a deal done, and IRGC is going to be IRGC. These are terrorists. These are not regular people. Yes. They don't live the way we do, and they're going to keep causing chaos. They're not going to slow down. They're going to try to renege the deal 1,000,000 times.
Of course.
How do you think Rubio is going to handle that?
Not well. I think he'll do a good job with it, but I do not think they should screw around with Marco Rubio. If he becomes president, I think they need to understand that he's going to be...
Who's a bigger true believer with Iran, him or Trump?
I think Rubio is a true believer of what the real... I think in terms of who's a true believer in what the real situation...
State terrorism, IRGC, they're not good for the world.
Rubio believes it all the way to his heart.
I think so as well. I think Trump is more ability to kind of see the market and seeing what's going on with the economy and say, look, I may not like these guys, but I got bigger problems to solve. Let me go back to the U.S. economy and let me try to get a deal with these guys. I don't know if Rubio will. I think Rubio is going to be like, nah, we have to put these guys out. My opinion. I don't even think J.D., this is a top 10 issue for J.D.
There's a lot of people, give me just 5 seconds. There's a lot of people right now around the president that are trying to solve for 4 and 4. $4 gas and under 4% inflation.
Yep. No, great point. The only thing that I'm worried about, Pat, we keep hearing all this stuff about Democrat, the rise of socialism, rise of this communist mentality. I just hope that all this war that Americans are sick and tired of, affordability, everything that's happening right now, that's not the main issue where they go, you know what? To hell with this, Trump-loving MAGA Rubio or J.D. Vance. We're going to go this way because they're anti-war, and you know what? They're going to give us free stuff. That's the one thing that really, really bothers me, because I believe, Tom, like when you mentioned the Miriam Adelson, Pat, it goes back to her husband, Sheldon. They've been giving over $100 million. I want to say $200 million. So when you give that type of money, I'm not surprised. Tom, if I gave you $200 million and I'm from a certain country, I'm expecting certain things. And when you're not doing it, you're seeing them talking crap. But my question is, I'm curious, what's their prescription? What is winning in your mentality? I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them for this war. Because we can't kill our way out of it, Pat. Because if we go in there to get rid of IRGC, you know what that means? Full ground invasion, full air attack, and a bunch of civilians are going to die. So I think we're in a bad situation. I'm hoping and I'm praying to God that they make something where, and Adam, you nailed it. It's what's the MOU? Memorandum of Understanding. Yeah. You said, Pat, you're negotiating with terrorists that kill their own people. There's no winning. The only thing that bothers me is that I think the president was told it was going to be quick and it's anything but.
Well, there's 2 different messages. The message from Adelson, and help me out here because I know you've read about this, Adam, is what the hell did you do? I didn't sign up for this. That's really her headline.
Yes.
Fox is saying, what the hell are we doing? I don't think this is a good deal. That's what Fox is saying.
So what do you want me to address right now? Marco Rubio and Vance?
Yes.
in general or specifically IRGC?
Specific, you can go anywhere because it's Iran topic.
Well, look, this is a conversation that it's not going to stop. Let me just start with the obvious. There's never going to be another Trump. Everyone wants to find out who's taking the mantle from Trump. Trump is one of one. I think you understand that. You would agree with that. You sort of coined that phrase. But who's going to be the successor? So let me just give you some numbers, some stats, some Tom Bizdock stuff. How old will Rubio be when he becomes president? He'll be 57 years old. How old would J.D. Vance be? He'd be 44. I'm 45 years old, 46. I don't want a president younger than me. I'm sorry, not yet.
I want one.
Okay. But more than that, more than their age difference, talking about having experience and being seasoned, Do you know how long J.D. Vance has had political power? 3 years. 3 years. He was a senator for 2 years, and he's been a vice president for a year and a half. 3 years. How long has Marco Rubio been in politics? 28 years. So to me, it's a completely different resume of who's ready for the job. To me, Vance, respectfully, gifted politician, still figuring things out, still figuring himself out. That's what this comes down to. In my opinion, Rubio has complete clarity. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. Everything I wasn't so sure about, i.e. Trump, where he was at with him, I think he has complete clarity. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And it just shows. When he gets up there speaking, it just, he knows all the info. He knows all the workaround. He knows all the gotcha questions. To me, he's probably, they said about Hillary Clinton that she was the most experienced candidate we've ever seen. That's Marco Rubio, but with the back.
But he better. But Adam, if it comes down to Rubio and J.D. Vance, Pat, debating on that stage, and this war isn't cleaned up by then, J.D. Vance, who can debate his butt off, is going to have a lot of ammunition going against the guy that's been in for 28 years. Which, and I love that he said that. I want to see it. By the way, I want to see it. And if they think sending J.D. is like, okay, go, I'm going to blame everything on you. He's busting his butt, and that's going to give him ammunition to be like, hey, I tried. I was in those rooms, and what they say, well, President Trump said he's less enthusiastic about this war. That's what's going to come down to.
I actually think it's going to be a good matchup. Me
too.
I like it. Actually, it's going to be a good matchup, and I look forward to the matchup to see how the market's going to react to it. I think it's going to be great for TV. And I hope they don't do we are friends, and I hope they actually do it because they got to play. They got to go through.
What do you think that relationship is like at this point? Do you think they're on the same team? Do you think they're working together?
No. They're not philosophically on the same page. They're not. But for the first time ever, I saw Rubio with a look that I don't think he agrees with what's going on with Iran. And I didn't think he wanted to smile. I think he intentionally didn't want to smile. If you ever go into a place where, where guys will come and they're like, well, hey, what's up? And you're like, nah, man. Pat Riley, we're not smiling and going and having dinner with Michael. Pat Riley had a rule. In Michael Jordan's retirement speech that he gave, do you know what he said?
No.
He says, I'll never forget. I called Oakley one time. He said, Oak, let's have dinner. Oakley used to be Jordan's teammate before at Chicago. I don't even know if you knew about this or not. Yeah.
He got traded for Bill Cartwright.
So he had Oakley. Oakley was a protector. Yeah. And he says, hey, let's go have dinner together. And it's like, no, I can't, man. What do you mean you can't? Coach won't let. What do you mean coach won't let? Riley was like, you don't have dinner with the enemy.
Yeah.
And that drove Michael insane, but he respected the hell out of it. I think a little bit of where Rubio is right now, he's trying to stay stoic and say this, look, I'm just doing my job, but when I become, if I get the opportunity, we would handle this slightly in a different way than what's going on today. I think I think Trump is more of a negotiator. I think Rubio is more of a true believer in this issue. He's not negotiating. He just says, you guys are not good for the world, and I think here's when he's stepping. And JD is more, he's more business, America, non-interventionist. Eventually, everybody at a young age, you're a non-interventionist until you get punched in the face and you realize there's some there's some people out there that you gotta intervene every once in a while. Trust me, everybody is world peace, Mother Teresa type of stuff, and then there's some nasty people that live in the world. All right, let's talk about Juneteenth. Okay, so here's a question I got. So they choose to do Juneteenth probably at the worst time ever. And again, who would come up with this idea of Juneteenth and approve it? Guy named President Biden. Now watch this. Watch this. Juneteenth is the 19th. On the weekend of Juneteenth, which is celebrating what? It's celebrated annually on the 19th to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. By the way, can you go type in when is Father's Day? Okay, when is Father's Day? Just type in Father's Day. Just type in Father's Day. What day does Father's Day fall on? Yeah, Father's Day. Now watch this.
June or something.
June 21st. Okay, so imagine how, they say racism. I mean, some could really speculate that Biden was indirectly being racist towards blacks, which I don't appreciate, because you do Juneteenth with Father's Day, and what is the highest fatherless community in America? Which community do we have? What is the fatherless percentage that we have?
Unfortunately, it's the black community.
Unfortunately, it's the black community. So why would you do such a racist thing? I don't use the word racist quite often, but in a context like this, you could have done it in July. You could have done it in Christmas. You could have done it in January or maybe November safe. You can do some stuff in first week of November, right? Kind of mess around there. But you decide to do it on Father's Day? What an insult, right? And look at this. In the United States, the African-American children have the highest rates of single. Can you zoom in a little bit? My eyes are all jacked up. Yeah, there you go. Highest rates of living in single-parent or father-absent households, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. The count, approximately 50 to 60% of black children live in single-parent families, compared to 30% Hispanic and 20% white. Why would you put Juneteenth on the same weekend as Father's Day? Then, to make matters even worse, the president, Barack Obama, first African-American president, some say was Clinton, but they say, a lot of people say it was Obama. He's out there, and while they're celebrating his museum, do you know what article comes out? This is what the article comes out. From Post Millennial, saying, hey, you spent $850 million on this property that you built, and sometimes there's a reputation of not paying bills or not paying credit cards. And this guy says, unpaid black contractors rage against Barack Obama's presidential center. What sense is it celebrating Juneteenth if our black contractors are not getting their money? Go ahead, play this clip.
President of the African American Contract Association. I've been in business since 1989. I never seen this happen since I've been in business. Even when I worked with the Chicago Urban League, so many of our black contractors are complaining about they have not got their money. But the other side of it, a lot of the black community and the newspapers do not know that these people have not been paid. Some of the people have put their mortgages up. They're going to lose their bonding, their rate in their bonding company. They're going to lose their relationship with their supplier, as well as their banker may want to bring in their note. So they're afraid to talk about these things, but they tell me in privacy that these things are taking place with them. And they're scared to death about talking about it. Some of them will hang up the phone on you and just say, I don't want to talk about that.
What a terrible timing, Vinny. You put Juneteenth on Father's Day, and you're not paying the bills of black contractors after the first black president's museum is officially built. And they're like, pay up. There's no money. And then on top of that, can you tell everybody what happened on Juneteenth weekend in Chicago?
So it started off with a bang, no pun intended. 7 people are dead in Chicago. 38 more were shot. Listen to this number. 24 separate shooting incidents in one weekend. Okay? By the way, how is that not, besides his library, the biggest story in America? I'm not talking about a war zone, guys. I'm not talking about Ukraine and Russia. This isn't Fallujah. We didn't take over Kharg Island. This is Chicago, okay? It started on Friday, on Juneteenth. SUV pulled up, 2 shooters opened fire, 12 people were shot, 8 men, 4 women. The victims range from ages 17 to 47. Another guy was shot in his chest, but he refused medical treatment. The rest of the weekend wasn't better. A 50-year-old man was shot in the chest on Friday. An 18-year-old was shot and killed Saturday evening. A 20-year-old man was shot in the chest on Sunday. The other victims ranged up to 50 as shootings broke out across multiple neighborhoods. President Trump responded by saying he could make Chicago one of the safest cities in America if Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's been dead silent, obviously, would work with him. Meanwhile, the conversation immediately turned into politics instead of asking why this keeps happening. And then people sit there, Johnson, the mayor, and him, it's because of racism and this. The Chicago Bears packed up their stuff and they're like, yo, we're out. We are out. So it's just every weekend, Pat. Chicago has this happening every single weekend, and nobody talks about it. But Trump is offering help. They don't want it because they love the title of Chirac. They're proud that people are getting freaking murdered in the streets every single week. Name another place. By the way, this war that we're in, 7 people didn't die this weekend in any other conflict that we're dealing with or we're seeing. It's happening in Chicago, and nobody's talking about it.
Adam.
So, this is a failure of leadership of what's going on in Chicago specifically. I ran some numbers of basically which state is performing the worst economically based on GDP per capita, taxes, basically what was the bottom line. And here's what I uncovered. New York and California get all the headlines, Chicago is called second city for a reason because it was basically the second best city compared to New York. Do you know where Chicago or Illinois falls on the list? Dead last. of economic viability. So regarding Obama, I actually think Obama is a good guy. I think he's a good dad on paper. But at the end of the day, I think his ideology is very Marxist in nature. Not to get all biblical, but you say, you will know them by their fruits. Where's that from? You will know them by their fruits.
It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. I don't know. BLM, they were encouraged. What was the foundation basically? Trying to dissolve the nuclear family. 1/3 of Americans, children are born to single mothers. 2/3 in the African American community. That's the lowest of the low. I wish Obama would focus on actually improving black people's lives, starting in Chicago, starting in Illinois, and basically do what you've done to this country, but in the opposite order, and improve the city where you're from. This whole story basically started that he was basically opening his library in Chicago. That was a whole situation. But you're going to basically stick black workers with the bill while you're out there sort of masquerading as a real man and as a real leader. And then the coup de grace is when Michelle Obama was asked, what do you want to focus on moving forward? She goes, me.
Yeah.
Tom.
What kind of man stands for that?
Look at this. I mean, this is where the governor could take some leadership. So let's talk about JB. Let's talk about Lincoln College that's been closed for 4 years. And in his recent budget, ready for this, Pat? He's got $500,000 in grant going to Lincoln College. It's been closed for 4 years. Who is receiving that money? How about turn it into a grant to the Obama Library that does exist and help get some of these guys paid? How about J.B. Pritzker take a leadership role in the community and push and say, wait a minute, you are a building, forget that it's Obama. This building was built on some land and received significant benefits from the city and the taxpayers of the city. Now you're telling me you're finished after you receive benefit that some of those taxpayers, black people operating businesses, aren't paid? Time out. You need to get these people paid, and you need to get it paid now, and then the state could intervene and help some of them to get paid. Let me tell you something about business. With this gentleman, it was very articulate what this gentleman said. He said he was the president of the African American Contractors Association. When he said bonds, you know what a bond is? A bond is like a credit line. Hey, I need to get about 36 tons of concrete from Vinny. Vinny says, well, can you pay for it? I can have a little bit up front, but I have a bond because Patrick gave me the contract from Chicago and he's going to pay me. Oh, okay, great. But you're I've got a license. I'm a great contract guy. I do giant buildings, do this all day long. Fantastic. All of that helps them. He even said some of these guys were at risk of losing their bond.
House.
If they
Put
lose
in their house.
If they lose their bond, they can't do business with other projects they may be working on because they took the opportunity on the Obama Library.
Humana. These are black workers in Chicago.
Own business.
Yeah.
I'm not being shrill here.
Imagine
this
if you're
is a
black
travesty.
General contractor that you can't even rely on the former first black president to pay his bills.
Jeez.
Who the hell is going to pay the bill?
$850 million.
But you know what they may
Pritzker gives money to a non-existent college that's been closed for 4 years.
By the way, this is such a travesty that they may moving forward only do business with Jews because they're like, you got to realize.
Guys, we're open for business. Yeah. But do you know how many black? Do you know how many black people in Chicago? We've seen all these videos are so disgusted and upset of them prioritizing the illegal immigrant community that has come to Chicago and has taken basically all the money. It's like, hold on, so you're going to basically let people in this country that have just got here, newcomers, they're going to get the benefits that we want. Have you seen this? And then it was like so like poignantly exposed at the opening of the library. Did you see what Valerie Jarrett said about the land that we are on?
Yes.
Like
borrowed land.
Borrowed land. If you're a black person in Chicago, tell me how you react to something like this.
Wow.
We have that audio?
To recognize the original inhabitants of the land upon which we are gathered today. We honor the Anishinaabe, the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations.
So you can't give it back? Give it. You built on it. Give it back.
Quiet. Get off the stage.
This is what's going on.
I don't even
here?
want to give it more time. I'm moving on. Look, go pay your bills, guys. Like, seriously.
This is why they're broke.
Bills. All right, let's go.
Anybody got a pack of Salem's?
Next story I want to get to. Here's the next story I want to get to. Here's a conversation that we had earlier that I want to get to, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Okay, folks. Should you date your best friend's ex?
Jesus.
Okay? Should you date your best friend's ex? I walk in this morning, Anthony lands this on me, and he says, the VT Gen Z, which they're doing such a great job with VT Gen Z on Instagram and TikTok. He says, do you think a man should date his best friend's ex? By the time I gave the answer, you have to see his reaction at the end. He seemed very disappointed that I had to clarify and say, by the way, are you dating your best friend's ex? He said, no. I said, then why you look like you're hurt by this answer? So, Vinny, do you think you should date your best friend's ex?
No, and I would never do it. I don't want anything to do with love, them, conversation, history. Like if I'm your best friend, Pat, I'm ride or die. And I don't care if she throws herself at me. I'm staying away from that because nothing good is going to come out from that. Nothing. I mean, yeah, you know her. If he's your best friend and you've been around her, you know her, but that's your home. That's your brother. I personally, no.
Tom.
It's a no for me.
What if I didn't know it was my best friend's ex, and I really wasn't
Bill.
bringing up the fact that I was dating?
How many of his best friend's ex you think he's hooked up with?
Bill?
Yeah.
Slick Willie?
Wait a minute. You mean unintentionally?
But Tom, honestly though, give a story. Like, was there a moment? Was there a big falling out with friends? Like, is there anything? Where do you stand with this?
I remember being in high school, and we had a group of friends cross country. I wasn't on the team. I was kind of an alternate, and I ran with them. And what was very interesting is there was a guy on the team, and I knew his girlfriend. I knew them all very, very well. And they broke up, and I kept talking to her, and I was just always friends with her. But in my mind, even back then, I always, the rule was I wasn't going to go out with her. I didn't know if she'd say yes, but at that time, Pat, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
we were all friends, and I even, there was something in the back of my head even back then that says, man, this would just create a lot of issues, just create a lot of drama. So it never really went further in my brain than that. Then, it's not a good idea.
Adam.
There's an equation to this that I basically come up with. So you feel free to use it out there if you're out there in the dating game. Should you date your best friend's ex?
Yes.
If this is your best friend, the first level is this is a hard no. No exceptions whatsoever. Your best friend, hard no. If it's a friend, second category, it is a soft no with exceptions. Hey, look, man, I know that you dated. It's been a few years. There's a conversation, there's exceptions that could be made. If it's an acquaintance, it's the third level. The answer is yes, respectfully. So the last thing you want to do is go into a relationship with drama, with people talking trash, with people saying, can you believe this? Can you believe this? Because that's a very bad way to start. But at the end of the day, your best friend, like your dog, literally and metaphorically, that guy's going to be there with you forever.
Let me ask you a question.
I've never dated anything close to my best friend.
Do you think your best friend will eventually find out?
Yes, for sure.
They find out.
No. Let's just say you hook up on a weekend. You think your friend will ever find out?
I've seen this happen. They always find out. It's always awkward. It's never good. And you know how they say bros before?
Yes.
Ladies, your best friend is your best friend for a reason.
And hear this out. Let's say we're best friends.
Yep.
You break up, and then now I'm with her. You know what that means to me? That even when we were together, you were like, yeah, like you were thinking in your head, like you would, like who knows how many opportunities you tried or maybe did something or no. I don't like that at all. I'm anti that.
I think it's one of the 20 rules for young men. Never ever date your best friend's ex. You think they'll never find out. 100% they will find out, even if it was one time. You know why? Because how often do relationships work out?
Well, 1% of the time. That's why they call it the one.
Yeah. So, by the way, how many times do you think there's going to be fights?
Time.
Based on credible data, all the time.
All the time. So if there's a falling out, who do you think he or she is going to protect and defend?
She tells 5 of her friends, and that's how your friend found out.
And if he's dumb enough to date his best friends or one of his friends' ex, he's dumb enough to brag about it to others when he's had 1 or 2 drinks. And when he brags about it, what ends up happening? It comes back. And then what happens? You're done. Okay? So there's about 8 billion people in the world. Okay? Let's eliminate, half of them, so too old, too young.
Yeah.
Let's take them.
There's a lot of ugly people out there, like the Seinfeld stuff. They're undateable.
But for everybody, there's somebody. But the basic rule, by the way, You're going to see, I'm going to get someone next, and it's going to say, you don't understand. You guys have no idea. I married my best friend's ex, and we've been together for 22 years.
Those are the exceptions, not the rules.
You're going to get those rules, and we fell in love. And a matter of fact, we even go on double dates with this. Yeah. I hear these stories,
Of
right?
course, it's coming.
I hear, and you don't even know that. Okay, great. Well, The Rock's, ex-wife married his trainer, and they're good. And what about, and this other person, and that other person, this other. It is what it is. I want to show you something, and I want to get your thoughts, which a little bit annoyed me. Can you guys go on Giselle's Instagram account? Go on Giselle's Instagram account. I don't know if you saw this or not.
I haven't seen it.
Let me just go to it. I'm going to go to a couple stories. If you go to Giselle's Instagram account, and, I think her handle is literally just Gisele, not with a J. That's a G.
With the G.
Guys, that's a very bad word right
Gisele.
that you're about to go to. Okay,
Gisele.
if you go to her account, go to the last one. That's a picture of her and the jiu-jitsu guy. And let's read this, okay? Let's read this. And we'll read the English version. Can you zoom in, please, for my eyes? Happy Father's Day. Thank you for leading. And this is Jacques, whatever the guy's name is, good-looking guy. Thank you for leading by example and for the values you embody. Love, humility, integrity, discipline, kindness, consistency. You are an incredible role model. We are so grateful for you. And we love you so much. And Dad, thank you for your unconditional love, wisdom, and support through every single stage of my life. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Where is the guy with the 7 Super Bowls? Where is the guy with, by the way, let's go past. I looked at this because somebody sent me and said you should react to this. No, stay on, don't leave. You should react to this on the podcast and go through the pictures. I'm like, why would I look at Giselle's pictures?
Yeah.
So if we go through the pictures, keep going. I mean, look, she's got, how many kids does she have? Let me just search.
Is that his kid?
Before we go back to Duck, how many kids do Gisele and
that's not
Brady
his kid. That's his
have?
stepdad.
Okay, now watch.
I think they have
Gisele and Brady together
plus he had another
have
kid.
2 kids.
Yeah.
Okay,
Plus he had another kid with Bridget Moynihan.
Sure. So you see all these pictures, right? Okay, and it's going through it. Well, where is the father of your 2 kids? Where is he? You don't recognize him? Really? You don't recognize the father of the 2 kids on Father's Day? Honestly? It's a little bit of a, some people may say, well, mind your own business. Well, then don't post this damn thing and get 50 million views on it. And if you don't want the conversation, mind your own
if you
business.
want the smoke, get it.
But to me, you know what I like about what Tom Brady said? I just want to give a quick shout out to Tom. Remember when Tom did the roast? When they did the roast
a year ago.
on how much they came after his ex-wife.
Yeah.
And the stuff they said about Gisele. And when he did an interview post-game, post-roast, and they asked him, they said, what did you think about it? He says, you know what? When I spoke to my kids, I understood the pain they have, and I would have done it very differently because they were making fun of their mother, and that's not okay, and I didn't like that. You think for an alpha, in a room of football players, who is the alpha amongst alphas?
Tom Brady.
This guy's an alpha. How many rings you got? 2.
7.
I got 7, guy.
Yeah, what?
Okay, I could have had 12. I could have had 9 if that Manning wouldn't have a second
Eli,
son, and I would have had 9 championships, right?
Yep, you're welcome.
But what's the point? So when you see something like this, I've seen J-Lo and Mark Anthony. When they go together and they take the pictures on fathers, and the love is given to all the fathers, right? I don't know how many baby daddies she's got. But you see people that give the credit. I just didn't like this. It kind of, made me feel a little bit, like it was a dig. How do you guys process this? Do you have a problem with the fact that, she doesn't give a shout out to Tom? Tom, how do you see this yourself?
Being another Tom.
If you're a celebrity in the public square, you've divorced, but you have kids, you have one obligation: to ensure that the mental mindset of those kids is positive. That's your. I don't care about what you feel about your ex-husband. The mental mindset of those kids is not to be split, but it's so that they know, hey, our relationship didn't work out, but I'm going to support your mom every minute she's with you. And she's going to support me every minute you're with me. We're not going to play games on holidays. We're not going to play games going back and forth. And this, I don't like this at all. Because your job is to protect the mental mindset of those kids so that they don't feel manipulated, they don't feel torn, they don't feel in the middle, they don't feel guilty, they don't feel like they're the cause.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that if they're from the kid's standpoint. Great feedback.
And that's a bit, that's, if you think about it, and if you're reading that as Tom Brady, thank you for your leading by example and the values you embody. How about just a separate post just saying, hey, Tom Brady, You're the GOAT, and I appreciate you.
But you know what this means if I'm Tom? This post 100% was only for Tom.
Of the way, look how she wrote it.
100% of this post was for Tom Brady. And look, I like Tom. I'm not even getting involved in this because I don't like to talk about stuff like this. But to me, when I saw this, I thought about Tom. And, I interpret it as this guy, doing what he does. You see Tom also being very involved with the kids, and it's very important to him because Tom had a phenomenal father. And when you have a very good father, you also want to be a great father yourself. Of course, he was very active, running around trying to win, and it's a tough thing to do when you're on the road all the time. But you've seen the video where Tom Brady gets emotional when they ask him, they say, who's your hero? Oh, we've all seen the video on how he breaks down saying, who's my hero? And then he kind of thinks and thinks and thinks. Guys, if we have that video.
Great clip.
And then he says, my dad's my hero. And you know who asked him the question? A kid asked him the question.
Yeah.
A kid asked him the question, and he got emotional about it. So, yeah, I don't know. I saw this. Of course, it's not a current event type of a thing. But, guys, if you were able to pull up that clip right there, watch this. This is it. Good work, guys. Watch this.
Who's my hero? It's a great question. Well, I think my dad is my hero because he's someone that I look up to every day. And
tears up, right?
What a question.
My dad. I'd say my dad represents his feelings,
isn't
because
that great?
What a moment.
You can pause it right there, guys. Isn't that great when you see this? So, anyways, saw that story.
Yeah.
Adam.
Look, there might not be a better case example for understanding female nature than Tom Brady. Because when you look at the Tom Brady situation, he's the best of the best of the best in not one category, in not two categories, in all the categories. Damn near billionaire, good-looking stud, could be a male model, 6'5", Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably the greatest football player, arguably the greatest athlete of all time, Super Bowl champion, everything, resume. And still, it wasn't good enough for his woman. Are you kidding me? And the reason why, and this is something that every man has to sort of grapple with, quite candidly, it's something that I'm dealing with right now. When you're a man on a mission and you have a purpose and you have meaning in your life, you can't let anybody, your family, your woman, your friends, get in the way of that. And if they're not on board with what you're trying to accomplish, there's always going to be friction. So here's some evidence here where he wanted to play one more season, I believe, and she wanted him to retire. And he said, listen, I got one more run at this. And she said, I thought you were going to spend more time with me. And she couldn't wait one more year. And what happened in that year? He won a Super Bowl. The rest is history. She went out and started dating the jiu-jitsu instructor. Now she has a new life with a new family. It just shows you, no matter how good you are, no matter how great you are, how rich you are, how cool you are, it still might not be good enough to keep your woman. So you have to have that balance. Because and the last part of the conversation is there's some people who are the black pill community. You're familiar with the black pill community?
I don't really want to get into that right now. We got it. So I think you made a very good point on what's going on here. I like what you said. I like the perspective on what happens. But, the only thing that I would say here that's slightly different, Adam, is the following. She was a killer herself. So to the argument of the other side, like sometimes when you marry somebody that's a super killer famous, their argument's going to be, dude, I was somebody before I started dating you.
I hear you.
I was more popular and famous than you were when we started dating. I was a #1 supermodel in the world. That is the only tricky part.
Sure.
The only tricky part is when you marry with that much attention and that's your wife, it's a risk. It's a risk. This is why I tell you it's not a good idea to date Angel Reese. I know you talk about it all the time, and Caitlin, those guys. I tell you it's not a good idea for you.
Stallion.
It's not, and I know you're into it. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good idea. I know we talk about it heavily.
The one caveat
you can dive into
heavily.
I mean,
I know you want to move on, but the one caveat is this is the exception. For every Gisele dating a Tom Brady, there's a million beautiful women dating a rich guy, and the rich guy just has to know what's going on. In fact, the top 50
are you
richest
kidding
women in
me?
the world.
Like I want to move on. I just said I want to move on, and you're like, I just want to say something quick. You do this like
you're gonna give me a piece of meat, and then you're not gonna let me finish
10 seconds. Go 10 seconds.
Finish the meal.
I don't want you to. I just told you I want to move on.
We want dessert, Adam.
Flipping guy.
All right.
Okay, so let me get to the next story.
Jesus, you get me fired up over here.
I understand, but I told you I want to go to the next stories because I got time here and you and your stuff that you want to get into. All right, so let me get into this. So Kevin O'Leary says Steve Jobs gave him the best career advice. There are only 3 things you have to get done every day. Here's Kevin O'Leary. Go forward.
Steve Jobs, I told the story countless times. He was not a nice guy, but in the 90s, I made all of his software for the Mac in schools, 110,000 buildings. He was an absolute asshole, but he taught me some very important things, and he was wildly successful. He said that each day, including you, each day, there will be 3 things you have to get done. Just 3. Mm-hmm. And that's called the signal. And there's going to be a plethora of things that are going to stop you from doing that, and that's called the noise. And so the only thing you have to get good at in your life to be an entrepreneur is to distinguish what's signal and what's noise. And then you do not let noise get in the way of getting the 3 things done. They get done first.
Tom, thoughts?
So I think he's absolutely correct. And there's one of the things that you set for this last year. We were talking about speed, product, and signal, which means we don't want things to slow us down. The product, the main thing is the main thing. And then signal. We don't want the noise. We want signal. And I think that Steve Jobs gave great advice to Kevin O'Leary. And Kevin O'Leary is pointing out, he said, listen, he had, in his experience, he said that Steve was a bit of an ass to work with. Get in line, Kevin O'Leary. A lot of people said that about Steve Jobs because he was maniacal. He was focused. And he's right. What you need to put yourself in a mindset that says, what are the 3 signal issues I got to get done today? And I got to push everything else off that plate. That is great, pure, simple advice.
Yeah, I love it. Adam, thoughts?
Don't marry the wrong woman.
No black pill. Stick to this.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got. Okay, I like
if you had to get 3 things done,
you said 10 seconds. I did 3 seconds. We're moving on.
You don't have 10 seconds here.
Or get 3 things done for the guy that dated your ex.
You always come back after I go to everybody and you still want to say something. So staying on this here with signal, it's one of the hardest things for you to do. It is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And you know why? Elon Musk said something the other day. They asked him the question, what is the worst invention? And he said scrolling is the worst invention that it does so much damage to you. You know, when you kind of watch videos after videos after videos, doom scrolling. It's one of the worst inventions. And why is it one of the worst inventions? It steals away signal from you. So if I got a book recommendation to make to all the CEOs out there, I got one book recommendation I will give to you. I couldn't put it down, Tom. I'm glad you're going through it. I think, have you wrapped it up or not yet? Are you done with it?
Almost. I keep going back to little things.
It's insane. So type in the word CEO Excellence. If you're a business owner and you want to go read a book, CEO Excellence is a phenomenal book written by 3 McKinsey senior partners. The only thing I will tell you is there's going to be some climate change stuff in there, some of the DEI bullshit that you're going to have to go through. But if you can set that aside, the content is actually phenomenal and is directed specifically to CEOs, and a ton of stories in there of how Jamie Dimon stayed signal with a bunch of noise that he had around him, because it's going to be constant. You're never, ever. Guy sends me a Menect yesterday. He's got this invention, and I send him your way. I don't know if he's Menected you yet or not. He's got this invention that he's doing. He says, Pat, what do you think I should do? Should I sell the idea? Should I keep it? Should I run it? Should I do this? I said, listen, in life, you have to figure out who you want to be, and one of the challenges about who you want to be is everybody wants to be a number one, but let me tell you what happens when you're a number one. 100% of all the issues that happen is your fault. Are you okay with that? So what do you mean? Are you okay if 100% of everything that happens in a company is your fault? Behind closed doors, you can put the onus and responsibility on others. But publicly, guess what it is? It's all your fault. So I don't want that. Then sell the idea. Or go be a number 2 or number 3. But if you don't want all the challenges to be on you, there's going to be, you have a few good days a year when you're number 1. You literally have only a few good days a year. You have a lot of shitty years, shitty days a year. I'm being serious.
I see it.
You have a few good days a year. You have a lot of bad days, and you still have to find a way to come home, be a husband, be a father, be present, take care of your health while shit's hitting the fan, and then come back to work the next day with a great attitude and do your best to lead everybody, knowing there's probably going to be a lot of fires you got to put on, and you got to find a way to stay focused on the signal. So if you stay focused on the signal, long-term, big things will happen to you. And the last story I want to do, and I don't want to go into the story for too long. I just want to give a little bit of time, but I think, Tom, story comes out with Netflix, okay? A Netflix story on what's going on with podcasting. So Netflix decides to get into the podcasting game. They do, and they bought a bunch of big podcasts when they went into it. And Netflix's video podcast engagement numbers are low per insider. Made a major push into video podcasts in 2025. Some of the big deals they did, Bill Simmons and the Ringer Network, Pardon My Takes, Spittin' Chiclet, the Ryan Russillo Show, iHeartMedia program, and I even think they got Barstool paying them 8 figures per year. Early results appear disappointing. According to Puck's Matthew Baloney, internal sentiment at Netflix suggests the investment has yet to generate strong engagement. Baloney reported that multiple company sources describe podcast viewership as low. Perhaps most notably to date, no podcast has charted on the Nielsen Weekly Top 10. This is significant because Nielsen programming frequently dominates Nielsen's rankings in these categories. Podcast struggles come as engagement growth slows. The concerns arrive alongside broader questions. Total viewing hours rose only 2% during the second half of 2025. Global subscribership increased 10%, according to Mofteson estimates that implies daily engagement per subscriber declined by approximately 8%. Tom, why is this so important, and can they turn it around?
I think they can turn it around, but it's going to be difficult. And I believe that they really whiffed on one thing, and that thing is focus. You got to know what you make, and you got to know what you do and what you do well. And Netflix is not in the podcast game. Netflix funds series. They fund damn good series. They fund movies. They buy rights to certain movies, Pat, that turn out to be beautiful. And what's really interesting about this is podcast is a big category. Podcast makes content. We make content. Podcast needs subscribers. We have subscribers. And so they went out to do it. But I think what they went out to do is they made a couple, acquisitions of things like Breakfast Club and Bill Simmons, but they paid a hell of a lot of money for them, maybe overpaid. Now, maybe they thought that was the Rush Limbaugh contract for EIB Network, Excellence in Broadcasting, or they thought it was the Howard Stern contract for Sirius Satellite Radio. Mm-hmm. Those are big anchor contracts that got people in the business. But I actually think that the podcast world is more difficult than they think. And I think they overpaid for what they got into it, and they're having trouble being a destination for the podcast. Because look what people have to do. So you have to decide, okay, I'm going to go watch on Netflix or I'm going to watch somewhere else. Are the things on Netflix available at other places?
No, it's just on Netflix.
Right. Exactly. So what do you do? Whereas on Spotify, we're on Spotify. We're also on YouTube on the video version, actually video on Spotify too. But I think they lost focus, Pat. I honestly think they lost focus, and they thought they could just open their checkbook, buy a few of them. But you have to remember, they're not just in the podcast business. They're trying to be in the exclusive provider to you and me business, and that's not how podcast works right now.
Adam.
Look, podcasting is hard. Business is harder. And being in the business of podcasting is probably the hardest thing ever. Because for anybody out there, I mean, I'd never watched one podcast on Netflix. I'll go to YouTube, I'll go to Spotify to see what's out there. I didn't even know that these things are doing there. But look, they're going into a red ocean. We talk about going into blue oceans a lot. They're going into a red ocean. It's not easy. And they're finding out that this is very hard business to do. That's it.
And Pat, I think Tom made a great point. Tom, I'm going to elaborate a little bit. Think about it. On YouTube, Pat, if you want to watch the PBD podcast, you go in there, they send you notifications, you just click on it, it's live, it's happening. And if you just want to go in and watch an episode, the latest one's going to pop up. Adam, think about it. For Netflix, you not only have to have a membership, YouTube is free unless you go premium. You have to log into Netflix. You have to find the show. You have to go to the episode. It's such a painstaking thing to get in there to watch it. And I'm saying this as a consumer. Like, I'm seeing it just looks too produced and it looks too good. I love YouTube. You just click on it. One ad if you're not premium. And guys, it's taken me years. I finally became premium YouTube.
Stop
yesterday. It feels
high roller.
Yo, I don't want to brag.
Yeah.
No commercials.
Life's going real good.
Life is doing. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I got to that point about 2 years ago. That's how I knew I made it.
I finally did it. But it's just.
I roll like that.
Yeah.
I roll like that.
I roll like that.
We do.
Wedding crashes. By the way, the guy that said I roll like that just got arrested for not paying.
Faison Love.
For not paying child support for the last $250,000. He's like, I haven't made any money less than $10,000 a year. He came in the courtroom in, what do you call it, wheelchair? This is the guy from Wedding Crashers. The guy that dropped his entire pants, and you know which one I'm talking
Faison
about.
Love, the big guy. He's a comedian.
Can you go type his...
Not Wedding Crashers, Couples Retreat.
I'm sorry, Couples Retreat.
He was an elf with
I'm like, there was no black people in Wedding
Did you
Crashers,
see
man.
how much money he said he made? He said, I made less than $10,000 the last 4 years. Okay? I
mean, what is...
And the dispute, right there,
How's
right
that
there.
possible?
He admitted that he has been living in his car and relies on annual royalties from Elf, which amounts to $10,000 to make ends meet a year. Love's attorney Glenn highlighted that the severity of the situation. He told People, stating he was homeless, he lived in his car, emphasizing the drastic change in the circumstances over the years. Pretty wild to think a guy like
this guy is living in his car.
He's saying he's living in his car.
It's a big car, Tom.
He's living in his car in drive-through, apparently.
Yeah,
living in a van down by the river.
I'm not trying to be funny either, but I'm not trying to be funny either.
McDonald's guy.
Yeah,
but
I'm just
this
saying
guy,
he's living in his car.
If he's living in his car, he's still eating. You know, you see a lot of people. I don't know.
What are you trying to say, Tom?
No, I'm just saying the narrative doesn't seem to match the dimensions.
Got it.
It's a good way to put it.
Freaking shot right there.
Got it.
Listen, all I was saying is you were great on Elf and in Couples Retreat. You know, and
fantastic.
By the way, Tom can be found at 1200 West Side. It's a big ass wall. You're gonna have to jump over.
There's palm trees, and there's palm trees. There's palm trees.
I mean, this is a tragedy. Where are his friends? Where are his friends helping him? The actors and actors.
But by the way, to be honest with you, if you're a BC actor, Tom, it is hard to make it. There was a documentary they did many years ago called That Guy. Can you type in That Guy documentary?
Oh, when it's like, hey, you're that guy. You're that guy.
Yeah. And they talked to all the people that guy. And it's actually a good documentary.
Yeah, you were in that thing.
And you recognize everybody. Yeah. But they say, we're that guy. We're the people that say, you're that guy, right? Yeah. So, it's interesting when you say this. By the way, last but not least, before we wrap up, did you guys see what Argentina did? Argentina decided to send a report to America for 13,000 fathers that are not paying their child support and said, you can't go watch the game.
Oh, man.
You didn't see this?
No.
So Argentina fathers must pay their child support before World Cup.
Wow.
In a post shared on Instagram, Buenos Aires Mayor George Macri explained why Argentine authorities asked U.S. officials to block some fans from going into the World Cup stadiums. Those who fail to meet a responsibility as fundamental as feeding their children must face the consequences. Can you go to the other? Is this a video or is this just a post that you brought up? Because there was if they do not provide their children, they will not be allowed in the stadium. The request reportedly covers about 13,000 Argentine parents. Most of them are fathers who appear in records for unpaid court-ordered child maintenance. Buenos Aires wants those names flagged during the match. How do you do that, man? Entry checks at 2026 World Cup venues. The idea is deliberately blunt. Officials are arguing that anyone able to travel abroad and attend the World Cup matches should first meet child support obligations at home. So can you imagine you're in line? Messi! Messi!
Daddy!
It's like, hey, Orlando, you got to leave. You haven't paid your child support payment. No, I will next month. No, you got to go. Go
Show
pay.
me right here. Venmo back to Buenos Aires.
Is there another story here that it goes? By the way,
that they were all found in Chicago area.
By the way, how do you feel about this, Tom? How do you feel about this? Public humiliation of 13,000, most likely all fathers, that are not paying child support.
Well, first of all, I'll go right back to the previous story, but I won't touch on it. You have responsibility to your kids and you're not meeting it. And that means that the state foster system or the welfare system's got to stand in the gap. And now that system is standing up and saying, hey, deadbeat, you have an obligation. What the hell are you flying to the United States to go see a World Cup match with whatever you paid for that when you've got child support back here? I mean, this isn't 13,000 people who won the lottery and got $50 tickets. I'd like to know what they paid to travel, what they paid for the hotel, what they paid for Uber, and what they paid for the ticket. And if you can do all that, you can take care of your kid. And I love this. And I love Argentina. Malay, once again, taking a step, trying to take what was previous and trying to move it forward. I like this.
Love what Tom had to say. He said took the words out of my mouth, and that was the word responsibility. I'll never forget. We were sitting around sort of a table like this in Vegas, and you basically questioned all of us. It was the home team, including some other friends of ours that were there, and you said, what does it mean to be a man?
When was this?
This was 6 months ago.
Seriously?
He said, what does it mean to be a man?
Were we drunk? Was it late? Was it?
Vinny was not drunk. It was during breakfast in Vegas.
Yeah.
And we all went around around the room, and everyone kind of gave their own context and their own words and their own different stories. And we all you said, put your phones down. And nobody had the word. And then you said, listen, the word that it means to me is responsibility. A man has responsibilities. The more responsibilities you have, the more man you are. And they were like, well, Adam, you might be responsible for one or two things, but you're not as responsible as me, let's say, or as the next person wasn't as responsible. But when you have kids and you have a family, you got to be responsible. You got to have responsibility. So these guys who'd rather put soccer above their kids, recognize that you have a responsibility.
So yes, you're for it. You like this, that the country is doing.
I mean,
it.
I'm not for this per se. I'm for encouraging them to be more responsible.
And I like that. That's very good feedback. But the question I'm really asking is, does it bother you that your country is sending a report to another country to say, don't allow this? And do you think you as a country should be obliged to follow their request by their mayor?
Let me tell you, you go to the Bahamas and you try to evade taxes, the United States of America will eventually send an extradition request that says, pull this ass off the beach and put him on the plane and send him back. U.S. Marshals will be there to accompany. They get extradited all the time.
No, but I get it. But if you're America, do you see this from this mayor? I don't know what mayor this is, Macri. I've never heard of this mayor before. Can we pull up his picture? Maybe he's a good guy. But if a mayor tells you, hey, you better not allow these guys to go to the game because they're not paying child support.
Yeah.
Do you abide by that rule?
I don't know that you have an obligation to abide, but countries send extradition back and forth all the time. But in this case, I don't know if you have an obligation to go through all the administrative hassle to actually do this.
Yeah.
But he's making a big point.
This is maybe a simplistic.
You know what question I'm asking? So I'm running a
point.
business. You want me to go add an additional step of filter to filter out whether people are paying child support or not? You want me to add that as a responsibility?
In America.
In America.
So we have so much going on with ICE and DHS.
I love
you
the
want us to
story.
basically say,
By the way,
don't focus on America, focus on Argentina.
I like the idea in your country. Like, let me tell you, you know how many times, we paid 60,000 agents we've licensed. Imagine how many people we've sent checks to. You know how many times we've had to have private conversations and saying, look, it's private, you and I. This is
they're trying to garnish your wages.
We can't have any control over it. I'm just telling you, here's what's going on because you haven't paid child support. Yeah. It's very, very embarrassing, but that's in the state.
Yeah.
That's in the country.
Keep it in your country.
Let alone.
Yeah.
Do it at an Argentina game or something like that.
I like it as a publicity stunt.
Yeah. That's probably what
I just don't know if can we find out if the U.S. was forced to abide by this? Officials are arguing that anyone that would travel abroad or whatever should meet. Can you find out if U.S. officials had to abide by this?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
there's extradition laws. I don't think you have.
Can we scroll down to this article right here?
We have to abide by this. I wonder if
officials are arguing that anyone able to travel abroad and attend the World Cup should meet child support obligations at home.
I'd love to know what the motive is. Was the motive to get the publicity for it? So when these guys walk back through the Argentine equivalent for TSA when they get home, they're like, you, and you, come over here.
You know, they say that this sounds like a you problem. This sounds like a Malay problem. Malay deal with this. I don't want, the last thing I want America to be doing.
Wow, look at that. Yes.
Deadbeat
Zoom in a little
Argentinian
bit.
dads.
Zoom in a little bit that the U.S. blocks a yes, but it's an important caveat. It wasn't primarily U.S. government deciding to block. Argentina's government reportedly gave U.S. authorities a list of 13,000. I know, but did they do it? Argentina shared the names with U.S. authorities. The goal was to deny those individuals. Buenos Aires, Argentina asked, was there any case where they asked a father to leave a game? Did that at all happen where they asked a father to leave the game? I want to know. As of now, I have not found any.
I'll stand corrected.
So
can you believe? Can you just picture some guy being like, "Go!" Excuse me, sir. We understand
offside.
that.
Yeah, you've been offside for
Maria
6 years.
Consuelo.
Here's what
Maria Consuelo is expecting her check.
Here's what I will tell you, folks. If you're watching this, you're a father. If you watch this content, being a father is very important to you because we would be so annoying to listen to if it wasn't important to you. And if you want to, like every day I strive to take my game to the next level. If you want to take yours to the next level and identify the 6 types of fathers and to be the highest one, July 1st, 6 p.m., I'm hosting a free webinar on how to raise strong kids in a weak culture, weak environment, go to vtwebinar.com, vtwebinar.com to register. Cannot wait to see you there. With that being said, tomorrow we may have a special podcast, and stay tuned for that. God bless everybody. Take care. Bye-bye, bye-bye.